Yeah. Okay, wait.
What's up?
Hi, what's up? What do we do in this segment?
Something about liberalism. But dude, the entire party is in fractures. It kind of feels like everybody's jumping ship. Like Megyn Kelly jumping ship after defending Trump for 10 years. I'm sorry, I don't buy it. Now, after he threatens to nuke Iran, she's really pissed off. I mean, I'll take it, but
Well, wait,
it seems
careful. It was over something else, right? Because I thought, didn't Megyn Kelly, her explicitly, didn't she literally say Trump could drop a nuke and I wouldn't care?
it's weird. She said that, but I think she said that. But then when he like actually threatened, she was like sick to her stomach about it. But then she said explicitly, yeah, that he could drop a nuke and she would still vote. So I actually don't know which one it is.
Yeah, I think so. I mean, like anybody should have been able to see the writing on the wall for a while that MAGA doesn't really continue absent Trump. So as we approach the midterms, it is obviously people want to hedge a little bit earlier because you don't want to be the last person on the train. Like people are going to start to jump ship because Trump's political power is the worst it's ever been. I don't know when was the last time we've had like as significant like a House turnover? Like how many seats have already been lost? Isn't it like 30, 40 seats already that have been flipped?
I was a Trump supporter until Sneeko was. When Sneeko flipped, I flipped too. I was like, that's too far.
That was too much.
Yo, Samuel, what's up? I haven't seen you since like Ohio.
Oh yeah, it's been a long time. I don't know if folks know the lore, but Adam was at our first canvassing event in 2024 before he blew up. I mean, rightfully so. I think.
Well, no, it was good. It was really good. I really appreciate the work you guys are doing and the work the digital ground game and everybody's continuing to push. So, well, yeah.
I will say on the on that whole like Trump's people abandoning him, it's very odd to watch like continually more and more extreme people like jump off the ship because this has been happening for as long as Trump has existed. You know, Republicans have been jumping off, and it's just like every time it's just a little bit more, and now you're to the point where like your Tucker Carlsons and your Sneekos, you're outright white nationalists.
Alex Jones,
are
like
still,
Fuentes.
yeah. Well, yeah, that big post of him attacking Tucker Carlson and Alex Jones and Megyn Kelly and Candace Owens and like who's left at this point is the question.
Yeah, you've got this huge issue of
Justin, before we jump into discussion, I know not everyone is as versed on the lore. Adam, Jeremiah, if you guys want to introduce yourselves, talk a little bit about why you're here, how important this cause is. Destiny, if you want to stop streaming the tier list. And this segment sort of we're already getting to the meat of it, but really talking about, we are in the midst of, what feels like the craziest era of politics yet, although it seems like we say that every couple of years. But it feels like we on the left, liberals, progressives, moderates, whatever we want to call ourselves, we have a bit of an identity crisis. And the lead to this stream, I mean, right now our fundraising goal is to lap TV. I think that really the question for us is, what is the vision for the party? How do we as a party, as a movement, navigate this? And yeah, I'd love to hear you guys do that, but let's get some introductions first, go around.
I'm Stephen Bonnell. I'm Destiny. Sorry, go on. My bad.
Get one.
Sure. My name is Jeremiah Johnson. I am one of the founders of the Center for New Liberalism. We are a center-left organizing group. We've got chapters in around 60 to 70 cities in America. We've got about 8 to 10 countries at this point. And we believe in kind of a moderate center-left vision for the Democratic Party. We want Democrats to win elections, and we want them to govern well. We want a good life for everybody. What does everybody want? We want a politics that's focused on material abundance, that, people can live richer lives with, more affordable groceries, affordable rent, good jobs, good salaries. This is the things that everybody wants, and I'm sure we're going to get into this, but it's harder and harder to see that happening because of the way our politics is going, and we've got to fix it.
Yeah, my name is Adam Mockler. I run a YouTube channel, and I've been spent the past few months and years, I guess, building a team of young, motivated people around me so we can distribute news and clips all day, every day. So I've been doing a lot of debates lately. And then I have multiple editors, one in the UK, one in Mexico, and we just are constantly distributing clips all around the internet, Facebook, Twitter, YouTube, just trying to build the infrastructure, just like I know Steven is as well, of having a strong liberal center-left voice online, pushing for values and pushing the party in the way that we want. And that's what I'm working towards. And I think that there's a lot of room for the Democratic Party to grow and there's a lot of room for us to, morph it in the direction that we want in our own image. We have a lot of power there, and yeah, that's why digital ground games work is so important, and I'm glad we're doing this.
Yeah, thank you guys for being here. I'd love to just go around and get each person to sort of expound upon sort of your view of what the Democratic Party or the left wing broadly should look like, and how we can sell it, especially from the perspective of everyone here, not just involved in sort of the punditry, but really, as Adam mentioned, the infrastructure, whether it's digital ground game, whether it's Center for New Liberalism, whether it's, infrastructure of content creators, how can we as individuals and as communities try to push towards what we want the party and the movement to look like?
Yeah, I'll jump in. I guess there's the messaging perspective and the ideological perspective. My team and I, who we have like Micah Irfan working with us too, just helping form policy and kind of think these things through. We've got a few prongs that we want to push for. One is sort of Trump-proofing the system, but then there's another that's a more affirmative vision of how the party should be beyond anti-Trump stuff. So the Trump-proofing would be like fixing a lot of the deep corruption in our institutions, banning Congress members from trading stock, banning senior staffers and Congress members from becoming high up lobbyists who are able to further their own interests. And I think that we need to just continue to Trump-proof the system in a way that we haven't before. Limit the tariff authority of presidents. There are all these random laws from the 80s that Trump is now citing that we can just repeal and try to limit their authority there. From a messaging perspective, I think we need a really, really strong ecosystem, just constantly pumping out volume and constantly, I guess, flooding the zone with our own messaging. It feels like we're fighting an uphill battle every time I open open Twitter and see Elon Musk just constantly tweeting with 8 to 10 million views. It's like every morning it's like Sisyphus pushing the boulder up the hill, and then it restarts every morning. Liberals are just fighting an uphill battle trying to fight back in this messaging ecosystem. Like if I open Elon Musk's Twitter right now, he's probably spreading some misinformation about immigrants, and it probably has 8 to 10 million views. So we have to build our own infrastructure, our own voice, and push back that way. Yeah.
Yeah, agree with all of that. Although I'll take this in a slightly different direction, because I love the idea of an anti-corruption push. Really, really important. Someone like John Ossoff has been focusing on that message a lot, and I think it's why people respond to him. I love the idea of having a better coordinated messaging apparatus. All of that is good. But I do think that sometimes we get so focused on messaging that we forget about the message itself, that we forget about actually delivering results. And I'm a policy guy. I'm a nerd. I like to think about this stuff. And I've just been, for the last year, just laser focused on how do we make life more affordable for regular people. And too often, I think both parties engage in something that I would call like affordability theater, where they actually make the problem worse. Trump will tariff a bunch of goods, make your life more expensive, and then he's going to offer, but we're going to do a tariff rebate check. I'll pay you off with a check. You see this in farm policy where farms are struggling because they can't access their export markets, but he's going to do a bailout. Or he starts a war in the Middle East and gas prices go up, but hey, let's just cut the gas tax. And the thing that all the kind of moves have in common is they're basically trying to pay you off without fixing the problem itself. It's a check, it's a bailout, it's a payoff. And people eventually notice those moves are popular. Nobody's going to ever say no to like free money, right? Voters are always going to cheer for that. But they're going to notice a year later when life is still really expensive and you haven't fixed the problem. And Democrats engage in this kind of shit too. Like there's Democrats who are saying, nobody under, $100,000 a year should ever pay any income tax of any kind. Like, yeah, that's going to be popular, but have you fixed the problem? Is that going to contribute to inflation? Are we actually building enough housing in our Democratic-run cities? Or are we just messaging around how high the rent is without actually doing anything about it? So when I think about this, I think about, the Democratic Party has to be a party that actually accomplishes things. It has to make life more affordable for people, more than just cutting them a check or messaging around it. Because, Joe Biden cut a bunch of stimulus checks and it didn't help him 4 years later because people noticed that inflation was really high and they couldn't afford things and the check was all used up. So that's something that I'm thinking of. It's really important to have good messaging, but we've got to have the meat on the bone as well.
The results, Democrats delivering results. Yeah. Stephen, what do you think?
I think we need to fund more TV shows that have like The Big Bang Theory, but for politics, but try to make everybody look like a fucking loser so that people like Joe Rogan and everybody else gets disinterested in politics again, because there are way too many people that are looking at the political world, and it is causing our conversations to be severely degraded. That's my perspective.
Are we going to have the Joe Rogan of the left conversation again?
No, we just need. I think that one of the things that there are so many things that are very difficult to message on because they're just mean. But like a few of these things are that, and nobody likes to hear this, but a lot of how we feel about the country really does come down to what the media tells us to feel about it. There are very few things that have a tangible, like massive impact in our daily life that we can really directly see. One of those few things is gas prices, right? Another of those things might be your 401k portfolio, kind of. You see the number go up and down if you have a 401k. But for a lot of issues that are mobilizing voters, you really have no fucking idea. Is 1% of the country trans? Is 25% of the country trans? Like, I don't know. I don't know the number is, but Republicans at one point thought that it was 1/5 of the country. And that's a mobilizing issue for these people. Or were 30 million illegals really let in under Biden? Or was it 5 million? Or was it 1 million? Was it 100 million? Like, who knows? Like, these are things that voters just don't know at the end of the day, and it will inform and shape their view of the country. And then I also think sometimes that people's view of the country can be shaped based on, with the same set of events, based on who's in office. Like, you see these YouGov polls where it will flip of like, how do you feel about the economic outlook of your life? And it completely flips by like 50 points depending on who's in office. And, you know, like I there's a particular story I bring up a lot, but like if you talk to a person, you can frame events of your life as being good or bad, sometimes just based on your age, and then sometimes just based on your perspective. And not to attack any young people or anything else, but like you'll hear, you know, a lot of kids in college or a lot of kids who are freshly out of college, you'll be like, I got a ton of debt, I'm not making very much money, like I can't afford a house. And it's like, this is every 22-year-old ever. Like, no, yeah, you're in the worst earning point in your life. You're at the most pulled back of the slingshot of your entire earning career. You've just graduated school with the most amount of debt you'll ever have. And then you're just getting into your career. So yeah, this always sucks, like for every single person.
And they're like, you know, viewing not other 22-year-olds who are like them. Like in the 1980s, they would have just seen a lot of people like them.
Yeah.
Now they go on Instagram and they're seeing, you know, the digital hyper rich. Everybody you see is living their perfect life, and the kind of dissonance between what you're experiencing and what you see in the media, I think right now because of social media, is larger than it's ever been.
100%. There was a Trump I was arguing with, and he was saying something. I think he was 22. Was arguing about how like he was ready to buy a house, and then Biden got elected, and now he wasn't sure what his future was. Like, 20, you're gonna buy a house at 22? Like, bro, you're so far out of the norm here.
There's something, Stephen, in there's a Gen Z poll of like they asked different what do you call it, different generations, like how much money do you need to be successful? And I forget the exact number.
It was like $680K or something.
Yeah, I need to be making $600,000 a year before I'm successful. I'm like,
is it not? But is that not the baseline of where we're all supposed to be? 680K?
Yeah.
I hope not.
But no, I mean, to kind of combine these things, so the messaging show that Stephen was saying, I think that's really true. And then to go back to Jeremiah's point about the actual tangible results, I think they kind of have to be connected because, yeah, like gas prices are in your face and your 401k is in your face, but also blue states are losing a lot of people. I believe due to the housing problem in blue states, we're going to be fucked when the next reapportionment comes. Correct me if I'm wrong, but I think it's going in the wrong direction it's supposed to be going.
Yeah.
So we need to build more housing. We need to deregulate some of these states. And I think that we actually need to deliver these results. I know Zoran is obviously a bit more progressive economically, but his messaging strategy is really good. Have you guys seen the meme where somebody on Instagram tagged him and said, can you please fix this pothole in New York City? And he's like, wait until I get inaugurated. Then he actually went to that pothole, fixed it, made it a PR stunt, and tagged that person back, and it got like hundreds of thousands of likes. It's like connecting the results to people's vote at the end of the day, and Democrats.
And I'm in New York. I see this a lot. I was not a big fan of Zoran during the campaign, but I'm cautiously optimistic about him right now as a New Yorker, because the thing is, number one, he is very good at messaging. He's got a great social media team. His game is on point. His videos are incredibly well produced. But also the things that he talks about, he's good at social media without focusing on social media topics, if that makes sense. He focuses on real world shit. All of his videos are about filling potholes. When we had that big storm up here, it was about like, we're mobilizing teams to get snow off the streets. We're fixing the sidewalk shed issue. Like it's very meat and potatoes stuff.
A lot of it is abundance in all the name.
So you've got to meet people where they are. Again, people can kind of tell. You can have the best messaging in the world, but you can't fool people forever. They will notice if there are problems in their life, like the snow is piled up and it hasn't been cleared, if the potholes are everywhere, and they appreciate kind of the little things. And I just wish Democrats focused more on basic competency in that sense.
A little bit, yeah. Although I feel like we run into this condition a lot as Democrats, where we're like, we're going to focus on meat and potato stuff, and we're going to get away from the culture war stuff. But the culture war stuff, and I know sometimes people think these are just luxury beliefs or just luxury issues. There are a lot of working class people that can be really driven by certain culture war topics, like abortion. I don't know if you could say that culture one. I think I kind of would. That could be a really mobilizing issue for voters on both sides of the equation. Or as stupid as it feels, like the trans stuff can be like a really mobilizing thing. So I do agree. You have to figure out how to like actually deliver, because we have to govern the goddamn country. We need to govern places. But then figuring out on how to do the messaging on the culture war stuff is important too. I wish that something that was said earlier is, I blame the Republicans for this largely, but we've lost the ability to have realistic conversations about policy, and it makes it so all of our policy conversations are so boring and stupid, where because Republicans don't engage in governance anymore and there's no like counterbalance to any other faction in the Democratic Party, if we're talking about like healthcare, like anything below, like I would say that most Americans today probably believe that we have the resources to deliver the top tier healthcare to every single person in the country. And when I say top tier, I mean like what's available to the most expensive stuff, which is like, it's like impossible. There's no way. Or that if we just had like enough rent control, every single person could live in the largest city in the United States. Or if we just gave enough cash or whatever, every person could buy a house or whatever. And like, these are huge problems that have a lot of like competing, forces pushing from the top and bottom of it. And we just don't have the ability to have real conversations about it. And then, like what was said earlier by Jeremiah, is that sometimes you run into this issue where the fixes that people are suggesting, they're either moving the problem from one thing to the other, or they're giving a false, impression about what's causing the problem, or they're making the problem worse in the long run by not even really addressing the underlying thing, and they're just giving a Band-Aid that's just going to blow up later on. And that's very, very, very frustrating.
Yeah, and I mean, all of this is important on the margin. We're kind of like presenting different viewpoints here, but all of it matters. The messaging matters, the policy accomplishments matter. You're trying to move things on the margin a little bit at a time, a percentage point at a time, one voter at a time. And you know what else matters on the margin is your donation to DGG. So donate now.
Absolutely.
I was asked to throw that in there. So it really does matter. This money is important. I saw Kirktown in the chat on YouTube just donated 100. Thank you, Kirktown. Also, that's a very funny name. I could talk for hours about the Kirkification of of America.
We're just a little over $1,000 from our next donation target, folks. We are super, super close. Just as a reminder for those who might have forgotten, our next donation goal, we are going to be getting that rap battle rematch and return to the blue coat at the next event. And at the end of the day, those are the rewards. But all of this money, what it really goes to is helping us defend our democracy, helping us move our party and our country in the direction we want to go.
What's the donation portal? What's the website? Just Digital Ground Game.
It's an Act Blue. I can just DM it to you directly, Adam.
Yeah. I'll help us get to the rap battle goal.
What a horrible time. I feel like sometimes people just get lucky or unlucky in history, depending on when things happen. What a horrible time for Charlie Kirk to die. I feel like in terms of the AI stuff, it was just, Jesus Christ. Just,
I find that to be all surreal when I think back at it. Like, he got publicly executed, essentially, for doing debate stuff. I don't know if I talked about this much, but he had a Jubilee Part 2 surrounded for 10 days after that. I was going to debate him, so I was literally prepping for it the night before. I had the Charlie Kirk debate prep up. And I remember seeing the initial video from far away, and it was just a surreal-ass moment. Now thinking back at it, it's just, I don't know. We are
there's things we can laugh about. Because
the last question, the gentleman who was talking to Charlie the last question is from our community. He's been at many of our events. It's just a crazy world.
Well, and look, there's things about this that are obviously human. Like, you watch some of these AI videos, and it's hard not to laugh when you see Charlie Kirk doing the Congo with Jeffrey Epstein or whatever.
That was real.
You're in Tel Aviv.
I really do worry about It sucks, and I don't want to underplay that public figures are getting assassinated for speaking out, and Charlie was an asshole, but this kind of thing, it's really worrying. I really worry about the slide away from just liberal values in general. That
he wasn't even close to the biggest asshole on the right, to be honest.
Yeah,
I don't know.
Well, and to me, To me, liberalism at its core is like a piece of social technology that says you can disagree with each other without having to kill each other. Because like liberalism arose out of the European wars of religion, where Catholics and Protestants were just brutally murdering each other for several hundred years after Martin Luther nailed his theses to the door, right? And like eventually they kind of reached this peace where they said, okay, you can do your thing and I'll do my thing, and we actually don't have to murder each other. And any kind of backsliding away from that actually does worry me like quite a lot.
Yeah, I don't like this. The media environment we live in is just so quick and so fast that stories that used to carry for weeks or months now end in literally days. And we really are in a time period where political figures are just kind of being assassinated with troubling regularity, like not like every day, but the fact that like when Trump was asked about the Minnesota lawmakers and he just pretended not to know or generally forgot, like it is very troubling. Again, I point to the conservative side on this because they have every incentive to downplay it as much as possible when they feel like it's the other side. So we never really get to have a conversation about this. I'm just so like it affects me. It's also annoying too because people will say that on the left or even for me personally, like, oh, like you're pro assassination, you're pro murder. It's like I'm running out doing these events. Like Jesus, I don't want to get killed at one of these events. And when Donald Trump got shot at, you had Biden literally, telling the whole country that violence wasn't acceptable, increasing Secret Service availability for Trump. And when Iran supposedly tried to assassinate him, increasing Secret Service availability. Meanwhile, Donald Trump is like refusing to call his side to be less violent, strip Secret Service protection from anybody that he can. It's just very, very, very upsetting, I think. It's very unbecoming behavior of the president of the United States.
One thing that seems to be kind of on the periphery in a lot of these discussions is, talking about the way in which we need to catch up to the right wing, the information machine, the attention span Adam mentioned earlier. I'm curious what y'all's thoughts, especially as people who are immersed in the sort of new media world, are in terms of like treading the line between like we want to catch up, but also, there's a reason why, we think we are correct and they aren't. A lot of it feels like the edge that the right has in these online spaces comes from the disinformation, the shamelessness. How do we navigate, wanting to be competitive while also still keeping our principles?
I mean, part of this I think has to come from people outside this space, and like not to get into the Joe Rogan thing again, but it's a topic I've been obsessed with for like a year because everybody talked about it and I feel like everybody misunderstood it. We're all like political sickos here. The people who tune into, Adam and Destiny Online, or the people who attend events for CNL, my organization, these are all like real political sickos. We love to talk about politics and policy, and we're like immersed in this. But the power of Joe Rogan is that he mostly doesn't talk about politics, and you're reaching people who are, just want to hear celebrities or want to hear comedians or want to talk about mixed martial arts or whatever. You've got to reach out into these non-political spaces. It's not enough to just have a political ecosystem. You've got to have, non-political Instagram influencers who talk about beauty products and celebrity gossip. Frankly, if there's going to be a liberal Joe Rogan, it's number one, it's going to be a woman. Number two, she's going to be on Instagram talking about beauty most of the time. And then she's going to bring people into politics a little bit at a time. I think part of it is you've got to reach out into those non-political spaces and not just segregate yourself into your little bubble where, it feels a lot of times like we've got our little ideological bubble that's very small and we're trying to grow that ideological bubble when we really need to be like leaving it and going into other people's bubbles that are not political.
I've seen a lot of my Gen Z friends, like younger people, fall down that exact same pipeline where you go from, a sort of cultural influencer down to politics. And you can see it on Instagram, because if you follow people on Instagram, you can see the type of reels they like. I can't tell you how many of my friends are into working out, and then by the end of the month they're looking at like RFK Jr. reels and these far right Andrew Tate reels, or like some friends that get their heart broken, they start to look up red pill websites. It's just a natural end conclusion. I think a lot of young mothers are falling down this anti-vaccine pipeline. Unfortunately, these young mothers are trying to look up health information on Instagram reels. A big one is my vaguely Christian friends, who I just remember like their family was kind of Christian. They didn't like politics. They all got really into Charlie Kirk after he died because he had all these Christian reels. And then I saw those same people liking Nick Fuentes reels. So you can kind of track the pipeline. And what we need to do is, I don't know, just have more affable figures. It's always nice when I see my friends liking like a Destiny reel or a reel of somebody on the left debating. So we just need more stuff like that out there. more debate clips out there. And yeah, we just don't have that right now. And then also the results, of course, the results that leaders can actually deliver, I think, just combining those things.
Have you written anything on this, Jeremiah? You said that you're obsessed with the Joe Rogan of the left idea.
Yeah, not to like promote my own Substack, but I wrote about it a while back, back when, like last year, when the topic was really hot after the election.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah,
My perspective on a lot of this is that I feel like one of the things that the Republicans do so well that the Democrats don't do at all is the Republicans are very good at creating like synergy within the institutions that they have direct control of. So like they'll have their ideological think tanks that are constantly working on their ideas and iterating their things like their Project 2025 or whatever. But then they also have like their lawmakers and their mainstream media figures are all also lockstep in messaging. So if Donald Trump says a thing, you better fucking believe every cabinet member is going to repeat that thing. You better fucking believe that Comer and Jim Jordan are about to open an investigation about that thing, and every congressional person is going to be saying the same thing. Every mainstream media person is going to be bringing on all these same people to say that thing. The message is always, it's like forged over here, and that comes out the exact same from every single person. I think that when you have that type of messaging apparatus, people are looking at Joe Rogan like he was a thing that was created in a Republican laboratory rather than a person who stumbled into like a Republican laboratory and started drinking stuff like just because it was already there and it was so digestible and so concise. Like I think that because the Republican messaging was so good, like Joe Rogan just happened to consume it and then started to fall into it like so many other people have, and then became like an unwitting kind of like amplifier for all of it. And the Democrats just don't have anywhere near that type of lockstep unity on anything. And there are a variety of reasons, some good, some bad for this. Like good is that we're not necessarily sycophantically obsessed with our leaders like a cult, which is going to have really bad impacts on the, obviously the whole Republican Party coming up right now, right, and soon in the midterms. But then also for some bad reasons in that I think sometimes we just we're too quick to let the other side like dictate the terms of the battle and kind of like Darvo us into gaslighting ourselves and not understanding like what's even happening. We let the Republicans do that too often. And then like I feel like after 2020, like there were a lot of people, me included, who were like kind of scared of the Trump derangement syndrome thing. It was like, okay, fuck, am I being too harsh on this guy? Like, I don't know, maybe I've been a little too unhinged. And you end up being so self-critical. Meanwhile, Hannity and all the rest of these guys are shameless. These are the most shameless motherfuckers in the universe. And they never play by their own rule book, but by the ones that they always prescribe the left. So I feel like we need to figure out, we either have to make it illegal to do whatever they're doing, right? Like the Dominion, Fox News, all these like interactions. We either have to make all of that illegal, or we have to find a way to synergize a bit more on our messaging. And then once that messaging is synergized, everything else just kind of, I think, like flows out naturally. Yes, go ahead.
I think that there's truth to what you're saying, but there's nuance there as well, in that kind of, universalizing everybody in lockstep message, it works to some extent, but it only works if you're doing things that the public is actually receptive to. And I'll say George Bush had this for a little while with like the Iraq war, but then everybody realized that the war sucked and it was a quagmire and it got really, really unpopular. And all of a sudden that thing doesn't work anymore. Like, to me, Donald Trump's great innovation in Republican politics, beyond just his shamelessness, beyond the obvious stuff, was that he found the issue that people actually wanted to talk about. After 2012, there was this, when Mitt Romney lost, there was a post-mortem. There was like, wow, we're losing with Hispanics and we've got to do more outreach to Hispanics. We've got to become a softer, kinder Republican Party. And Donald Trump said, no, what we need to do is go even further anti-immigration, anti-trade, nativist, protectionist. But I'm going to say, well, but I won't, slash your Medicare. I'm not going to slash your Social Security. He was the only Republican candidate in 2016 who was like, at least saying that he wanted to protect Social Security and Medicare. And so, like, I think the message still does matter, even though, Democrats need a better apparatus for like spreading that message. Picking the right message does matter. And I think one of the things that's happened is that Republicans have staked easily defensible ground in some fights, whereas the Democrats kind of got out over their skis on certain culture war issues that, we kind of assumed, like, one of my great theories is that gay marriage ruined Democratic politics to some extent because it was such an easy victory that we assume, like, oh, we just take the morally correct stance and 6 years later, everyone's going to magically agree with us. Because in the case of gay marriage, somehow that actually worked. We took a stand on an unpopular issue, and then like within 6 years it had flipped like 50 points in the polls, and we just got rewarded for it. And we were kind of like, oh, that's how every issue is going to work. That's how racial politics is going to work. That's how LGBTQ stuff, like trans stuff, is going to work. And it turns out that's not true. I think not every issue is going to flip 50 points if you just take a heroic stand.
So there's a world where I would agree with you when both sides are playing by the same rule book, but I feel like, and I'm curious what your response is. I actually completely disagree now. I think you can message on whatever. On a personal anecdote, when I'm debating people in the past, one kind of weird thing that I notice is that if I have uncertainty around a thing, I'm usually generally I'm pretty honest about my uncertainty around a topic. But if I express any amount of uncertainty and I'm debating somebody who operates with absolute certainty, even if they know what the fuck they're talking about, people are like, oh shit, that guy's probably right. He seems really confident in what he's saying, and I'm like, well, I'm not entirely sure. Blah blah blah. I think that one of the things that Donald Trump has figured out isn't to message on issues that are winning issues. It's that if you continue to message on it, and if you just say, fuck reality, I think that Donald Trump, with his base and with where the Republican Party where they've evolved to, I think you can just make people eventually feel a way about a thing. And if you just keep messaging on it, especially if you have no attachment to reality and you're willing to make shit up, I think you can push on it as much as you want. I think that if Republicans felt like if Republicans defended trans people, then every single day, they would be having stories about Democratic dick diddlers that are standing outside your little girl's bathroom, checking every single child's genitals to make sure they're not trans. That would be the messaging they would run every single day. They would have a Catholic priest, they would have a public school teacher, and they would show, these are what the Democrats want to do. They're attacking our trans kids and they would be relentless. And then you would have some person who actually did do it, and you'd have a new bill called the anti, whatever, they would name it after the teacher that did it, who was trying to check a kid's genitals going to the bathroom. And then we would have trans rights for the entire United States, because the Republicans message on it so much. And my examples for this there are two huge things. One is Trump came in as the president of No New Wars, and arguably it was a fairly popular part of his platform. And this guy is sold to the Republican Party that we need to go to war with literally everybody, even our allies. And then also Trump came in as the guy of we're going to cut all the taxes or whatever, and we almost have a value-added tax. He tariffed the whole world, and I'm and somehow all the Republicans are on board with it. And I think it's just the total.
He was very honest about wanting to add more tariffs.
Yeah, he was honest about it, but it was a lot. But he's bragging about. Can you imagine Obama bragging about raising money?
He wasn't honest about who paid the tariffs, though.
Yeah, he lied about it. And here Trump is I raised $300 billion off of tariffs, and it's geez.
He says 18 trillion. Try 18 trillion.
Well,
buddy.
For investments in the U.S., yeah. But meanwhile, because okay. Also remember, all of these guys know they're lying, because if Obama were to come out and say a thing oh well, what about income tax and we're going to tax corporations? All of a sudden, it's we know that cost is going to get passed on to consumers eventually, so we don't accept that this tax. If Democrats were doing the tariffs, Republicans would be on message about what we're saying.
Really
about
quickly,
tariffs. Yeah.
I think that the Republicans benefit from having a central figure pushing messaging and narratives in a way that the Democrats don't have and haven't had since Obama. Even under Biden, he wasn't out there giving affirmative messages and narratives on immigration. We kind of lost the narrative on immigration on a lot of these issues. Trump has been dictating the policy in a top-down manner for so long. Now it's kind of biting them all in the ass because he's going to war, doing all this crazy shit. But the Democrats have lacked a sort of authority in our party.
Yeah, there's two things I would say to that general argument, Stephen. Number one is that I do think this underrates a little bit how Trump picks and chooses, and there's issues that he just doesn't want to touch because he knows they would be unpopular. He knows that he couldn't make reality bend on certain issues. It's why he has not gone after Social Security. It's why, for instance, he doesn't talk about abortion at all. He's happy to make the conservatives happy. He appoints Amy Coney Barrett so that she'll overturn Roe v. Wade. But other than that, he just doesn't talk. He refuses to talk about abortion.
They won the war on it,
because
right?
He doesn't want to get sucked into it. But the second thing I would say is that if this is really your vision of how politics works, then frankly all the blue sky people are correct. We should all just become hyper-partisan, blue sky, rabid, scream at anybody whoever disagrees with us ever. The moderates should be cast out of the party. We just need screaming progressivism, and shun the non-believer. And I think blue sky style politics seems like they're going to fail. And I don't want to go down that route. So.
I agree with what you're saying, but I think they're right if we can't mess up what's going on the right. That's why I'm saying we have to make it illegal if we're not going to duplicate what they're doing, because their model can't be competed with. I don't think that, because they're so detached from reality on everything. Like Trump can just come out and lie and lie and lie and lie and lie about every single thing. And like you have, I saw
it does catch up with him though. I mean, like you brought up the war, and yeah, there's a lot of Republicans who are now in favor of bombing Iran. But I go out and talk to people, and I know people who are conservative who are really disgusted by this. A lot of them, and I think he's losing a lot of support.
Yeah, I know.
Like
I
there's a
understand.
reason his support keeps going down and down and down.
Yeah, but I would argue that we've normalized way too much. Like when you say he's been held accountable, I mean, like the IDF gets held accountable if they war crime a Palestinian because they send the soldier to jail for like 6 months. Like that's like the accountability, right? If we say like Trump's been held accountable, like in my mind, I remember this was the argument that I made a lot in the last election, was that if Kamala wins all 7 swing states, I still feel like this country has utterly failed. Like that election needed to be like a 49-50 state landslide, or else what are we doing? That Donald Trump, a guy who tried to coup the government, among the 50 million other things, manages to still scrape out an election win. That's just, it's insane to me that there are consequences, but they're not really that great, especially given all the big wins they've had. Pointing to what Adam said, we don't have a cheerleader to carry us through from election to election. Republicans do have that in the form of their think tanks, your Heritage Foundation, the people that are working on Project 2025, your Federalist Society, where I think 5 of our Supreme Court judges were members of, contention with Roberts, I think he's a guest or whatever, but like members of the Federalist Society who are constantly working on ideology and constantly iterating. So even when they get like an empty vessel like Trump to come into office, they can move all of their policy through him, even though he doesn't know anything about it. I think that Republicans have so much structural advantages here. And yeah, their ability to just lie. I agree with you. I don't like the idea of like blue sky style politics, but trying to do real governance against the Republicans on the messaging thing, I think you just lose, because how do you beat a guy who's willing to lie so many times and still get reelected? And now we've got a 6-3 court for how long, and we've ruined our relationships around the world for how long? USA, the Department of Education, these things aren't coming back. Yeah.
I do want to we've got about 10 minutes left in this segment, so I just want to make sure everyone knows we're coming to a close. And after that, Steve, if we can go back to that ad reel scene and mute the stream and just thank Adam and Jeremiah for their time. And then we've got another panel coming up, but just letting y'all know,
Okay.
Winding down here.
I made a donation to push us towards the rap battle. I very much so hope to see that, and I hope everybody else can make a donation if you have the means and help us win back democracy. I mean, listen, the Democrats are going to have a good midterms. We're slated to have a good midterms either way, but the entire impetus of this conversation is because the Republicans suck, not because Democrats have figured their shit out. But it seems like we're going to have a pretty good playing field heading into the primary, and one of the first ideological battles we've had in decades. I saw somebody explain, like, listen, in 2004, the primaries weren't like real ideological battles for the Democratic Party. In 2008, it was Obama versus Hillary in the primary, kind of the same ideology. 2012, it was Obama. 2016, it was Hillary again. 2020, it was Obama's vice president. 2024, it was Kamala. So now we're actually having a legit ideological battle. Are we going to go towards this populism strain? What candidates do you guys have your eyes on? I like Ossoff, like we mentioned earlier. I like, Buttigieg had a really viral clip today. I don't know if you guys saw that, but he had a really viral clip on CNBC, but he hasn't really been in the limelight a lot. Newsom's obviously the de facto favorite in all the betting markets, but that's because he's done a good job of capturing attention. He obviously has some electability problems, but...
Yeah, Newsom is an interesting case here, because Newsom is a guy who essentially his selling point is that he just really fucking hates Republicans a lot. He's not particularly of the left wing, but he's also not particularly a moderate. I am hesitant about Newsom just because I feel like, other than being a white man, he is essentially Kamala Harris. Like, he's a California politician who's never had to do anything outside of California and does not have a particularly great governance record and is going to get hit with a lot of obvious attacks. The difference is that he is more willing to fight in the mud, maybe in the Destiny style that he's advocating for. Like you, I'm intrigued by John Ossoff. I'm intrigued by Pete Buttigieg. But yeah, I don't know.
It's hard to tell.
One thing I will say, as a person who lived in California, and I understood that if you lived in California, everybody has to hate Newsom, even the liberals, for whatever reason. I do think it's good to be critical of our own, but I think it's one thing that's very frustrating. It's very sad. I don't know how you do this without sounding like a loser. You remember in 2016 when Trump was doing the Make America Great Again thing, and Hillary was saying, well, America's already great. Like, Hillary was right, but obviously when you say that, you sound like you don't want to change anything. You're just fighting for the status quo. But
Yeah.
the status quo in America is like one of the best in the world. Like, we definitely have problems, but to pretend like the country is this failing, horrible place all the time, and that you have to be coming from that populist perspective that the whole country is dog shit and terrible and failing, like, it makes it very difficult, I guess, to run in future elections when you've been part of the establishment upkeep for things. Like, one question that I remember when I was debating Owen Schroyer, I brought this up. You know, like, people bring this up over and over again. It's so expensive to live in California. Like, people, like, it's unaffordable everywhere there. And it's like, okay, sure. Why though? Why do you think it's so expensive to live in California? And it's like, well, bad policies and it's the greedy whatever. And it's like, okay, no, it's because the people that live there make a ton of money and because a lot of people want to live there. Okay, you don't have people flooding to Mississippi, and not to knock any particular state, but the fact that Republicans somehow get away with attacking blue states on like affordability and stuff when their states are net recipients of federal aid and, you know, are, to be quite frank, being carried into the 21st, 22nd century or whatever, you know, by a lot of these blue states. Sometimes I think we don't give ourselves enough credit for the things that we do well. Yeah.
Yeah. Well, and like, I mean, I do think like we need to build more housing. Housing is way too expensive in virtually every blue area of the country, and we are losing population to Georgia and North Carolina and Texas. And like these are not states that are struggling. These are states that are growing really fast economically and population. And there's cool, interesting things happening in those states now. But I agree with your general point. Like, California, the fact that prices are high in California signals there's a lot of demand to live there. This is the whole like, you know, oh, nobody goes there, it's too crowded kind of thing. So
I will say this gets more policy oriented, but like, housing is hard. If Trump could do any authoritarian thing, I would pray that he would do it, although he won't. I think the biggest issue with housing is people don't realize that most people live in owned homes. It's like 70% of people are in a home where the owner has a mortgage. And if you want to bring down the cost of housing, you have to hurt those people. And these are like your strongest voter base. It's why on the broad level, like if you think about it, if you look at a particular sector or a particular geographic district and the housing is unaffordable, who are the people that are hurt the most? It's people that can't even move there, so they're never voting, right? And who are the people that are helped the most? It's usually the people that live there in homes with their families who are your strongest voters. That's a really hard thing to combat. I wish we had a more, I know it sounds bad, like a more like, I don't know, state level or federal government level authoritarian style of like, you need to build these homes, we're going to come in and blow everything up or something. Because yeah, it's a really hard thing to push against.
This is the Japanese model, right?
Yeah,
Japan has zoning at a national level, so like, yeah.
Yeah. Yeah, being in Southern California and seeing, I was so shocked when I lived there that there are no buildings that are more than 5 stories. I'm like, why am I living in an apartment building, paying $3,000 a month for a studio apartment? Every single apartment complex here is 5 stories tall. We can't build taller or whatever. It's like, I know downtown they can. Like, yeah, I don't know. That's crazy to me. But I understand the reason why. It's because your strongest voters are all your homeowners that don't want to see their houses decrease in value. You know.
Well, look, the one thing, if I have a closing message, because I know we're coming up on time here. With this whole conversation, and to everybody listening, it's easy to get down. It's easy to think like this problem is insolvable, but it's not. Like, the people doing the work can solve problems, whether that's you donating a little bit of money here, whether that's you actually participating later down the line, going out and knocking doors as part of this organization. Things can flip faster than you realize. If you had gone back to 2015, you know, the Republicans would have been saying things like, look how disorganized the Republican Party is. Look what a mess we are. Democrats are super popular. Democrats have won 5 out of the last 6 popular votes. They've got guys like Bill Clinton and Obama, and they just fart out generational politicians who are so charismatic. And who do we have? We have, you know, the Jeb Bush. Like, what kind of nonsense are we putting out there? It really would have felt like that to a Republican in 2015, and then things like flipped like that. So things can change in politics fast, but they only change if we actually do the work, if you actually put the effort in, if we actually take this seriously. And that's like the closing pitch is don't actually lose hope. Don't feel like this is all in vain. Just do the work.
Yeah, we've got a midterm coming up that's looking really good for the Democrats. I mean, the Republicans are blowing it so much that some of the prediction markets are showing the Senate at a 50-50 now, which a year ago was almost unthinkable. We'll see what happens, but at the rate that gas prices are spiking, I heard we might have some delayed supply shock in the sense that a lot of the ships that had passed through the Strait of Hormuz are still heading to the U.S. and they're about to start cutting off soon. So it might get worse. And that's awful. Donald Trump ran on no new wars and affordability, and he blew it for on both of those things. So yeah, the Democrats have a lot of room to grow. We've got a lot of candidates to workshop and run. I really like James Tallarico lately in Texas. He's really good. Of course, Asif, Andy Bashir is great. We've got a lot of good
Gary
candidates.
Peltola, baby. Fish, freedom, and family, baby. We're gonna win
Yeah,
Alaska.
she's
We're
pretty
gonna have
good.
a Democratic
Spanberger.
senator from Alaska. It's gonna be great.
Spanberger's great. Cheryl's great. It's interesting. There's a type of, I think they call it supermajority thinking. It says that you can have Zohran Mamdani in New York City, but Zohran Mamdani couldn't win Andy Bashir's seat, and Andy Bashir needs to be the guy for that seat. And you can have a coalition across the country that isn't exclusive or Puritan, but it's a coalition that has people with flexible views and can win the party. That's a supermajority that allows you to have real, actual change rather than just this thin majority. And I mean, the unfortunate reality is Trump was closer to reaching that with his podcast tour and everything than Democrats have been for a while.
True. Although they made a lot of deals with the devil, and we can see that exploding and imploding right now. The only issue is that, like, when Republicans implode, Democrats always have to pick up the pieces, Like, we're very much the adult here, and if the Democratic Party were to implode, like, this country would be going to hell, just like Trump said it was. And Jesus, yeah.
I like that thought tree where everything leads back to it's the Democrats' fault. That's the reality that we're in right now, and we need better messaging to subvert that. Our president is literally a dementia-addled, like he's making fun of people's deaths every single week, dancing on the grave of Rob Reiner and Mueller, threatening to end civilizations. What did he do yesterday that pissed me off? He posted some video of like a woman just getting beaten to death with a hammer, and I accidentally watched it.
Truth, Jesus.
Yeah, I watched it before I realized what it was, and I was like, dude, why did the president?
Adam, are you against truth? Are you against him truthing the truth? I think the final nail that we need to nail in here is all of this is leading to share more Adam Mockler videos with your friends.
True.
Yeah, no, all of us. I mean, listen, we're all a bunch of like-minded individuals pushing for a better America, a better. It's the team that I built around me is a lot of people that have worked with you, Jeremiah. We've worked together and built
I know
it.
Micah very well. Yeah.
Yeah, and we pulled people from your org, and we're trying to build towards. I don't know, just I need to deepen my policy so my messaging can be more snappy and intuitive. So we've got a lot of work to do. I'm excited.
We're better together, and that's how we're going to win the midterms. Adam, Jeremiah, I can't thank y'all enough. Happy to announce we have reached our next fundraising goal. That rap battle is going to be happening, Adam. We couldn't have done it without you. We've actually surpassed the goal, and we're actually in striking distance of our next one, $100,000, and we'll be able to do another of our house canvassing fellowship programs. Amazing program, really awesome way to train up organizers from our communities and help build the kind of party we want to see, not just talk about it. Steve, if we can transition back to the ad roll, we're going to take a short break. In about 5 minutes, we're going to come back with the panel talking about the midterms and specific races in the midterms we're interested in. We've got some exciting guests for that. Ryan will be coming back, some others as well.
We're going to do that.
For donating.
Wait, real quick, though, and I have to do this while Adam is here, because I need him to have my back on this, and I'll have his back on this, okay? Listen, because I see a few people complaining. Have you had people complaining about the YouTube titles that you do, Adam?
Yeah, of course.
Listen, I've complained to my YouTube people about the titles. I'm like, we can't put this guy's name here? Do we need to do this? You can A/B test all the titles on YouTube. You motherfuckers like the clickbait. You click them, those are the video titles that get the views. That's how it always works. So if you didn't like them, you don't vote with your clicks, okay? Is that true or is that not true, Adam?
People say don't clickbait, then when you don't bait, they don't click.
Exactly.
This is the thing every single time. Here's the reality. Like on a serious note, it's a moral dilemma that most creators go through, whether you want to maximize your reach or maximize the way that you title your stuff. So I've tried to tone it down. Brian Tyler Cohen, who's a good friend, he has 2 separate channels.
Yep.
One channel, his secondary channel, is normal titles. You can see the visible difference in performance between these titles. So if we want to maximize our reach, then we got to title it like this. Listen, Trump doesn't deserve serious titles about him anyways. Like, he's brought this level of unseriousness in politics. I'm sorry if I say Trump looks like a sickly, dementia-addled 80-year-old. Yeah, he's not a serious actor anyways. I don't give a shit. So it's the playing field that we have to be on.
Thank you for that.
Yeah, that's a serious moral dilemma I just laid out there. But yeah, we'll keep on.
Thanks for joining us, guys. Yeah. And then
Thank you, Steven.
Thank you, everyone. Thank you
That was
for the
great.
donuts.
Donate to Digital Ground Game. See you guys.
Peace out. Okay. You want me to bring up the
Just go to the ad segment.
the intermission video scene, right? Oh, you just fucking leave me here. Fuck you. Fuck you. All right. I'm loading up Arc. Just kidding. We're back. Oh, well, I'm good. We're on. Hello.
We're on? Okay, fantastic. So, the next segment, we are going to talk. We're going to have a little panel about races to watch upcoming in 2026. So, we got Mr. Destiny, we got Ryan Getty, we got Soy Pill, we got Ms. Z, and then we got IRI right over there. And we're just going to go over the races. I know the ones we're targeting, but if there's any like specifics that you guys want to talk about real quick, let's get to it. Okay,
Maybe
fuck
I
Grand
can start
Planner
off.
and me. Go ahead.
Ryan, Texas boy, what are our odds with Talarico?
Okay,
How
one of
close are we?
the things that y'all need to understand about Paxton specifically, I mean, if he ends up being the Republican nominee, I guess, is that he is hated even by a lot of Republicans. He was impeached in the Texas House, and he was very nearly convicted in the Texas Senate. In an informal vote in the Texas Senate, it was one vote away, and it was only one vote away because his wife was a member of the Texas Senate.
Jesus.
And so I'm not even kidding. It was totally corrupt. Anyway, the Republicans, of course, control both chambers of the state legislature in Texas. So the fact that he got impeached at all is a crazy thing. I mean, he was using money for things he shouldn't have been using it for. It was bad. So a lot of Republicans hate him already. And Talarico's a good candidate. I mean, what else can I say about that we haven't heard a million times before? He's a good candidate. I think if it's a blue wave year, I think if enough people donate to help us knock doors and get Democrats out to vote, there's a chance.
Wow. Okay. Do you think that the
My bad.
I've heard this conversation a lot. IRI and Ryan, maybe especially IRI. I've heard this said a lot that the redistricting in Texas could have moved Texas into a very scary spot for the upcoming elections. Do you think that's true? Is that looking to be panning out anywhere, or will we even know until an election happens? Or
Well, yeah, they had to water down some of the districts in order to gain more. So I think they're kind of sweating bullets now because Democrats have shifted the electorate about 13 points to the left. We saw that on Tuesday in Marjorie Taylor Greene's old district, which I believe has the most Hispanic voters in one of the counties, Whitfield County, I think it is, near Dalton, like the carpet capital of Georgia or something like that. But anyways, we've seen a huge shift from Hispanic voters to the left, and Republicans were counting on Hispanics to stay with them through the midterms and through 2028, but that seems to not be the case. So I think they're in a lot of trouble.
Mm-hmm. That's true. Also, I think your Discord is set to use your other mic, unless that's intentional.
Yeah.
Okay. No,
I think that's exactly right. I think that they, of course, the way that gerrymandering works, they have to water down safe districts in order to sort of spread it out and hopefully create districts that are marginally less safe, but still safe enough that they can count on them. Mm-hmm. And in South Texas, in the districts that they gerrymandered in South Texas to try and give them a Republican edge, they were counting on things staying at least somewhat like they were in 2024 with Hispanic voters. And it's just looking like that's not the case at all.
Is it better?
Yeah, much better.
That's so much better.
Do you know why? I feel like of all the Democrats I've seen in the party right now, it feels like Slot Kid is doing this like more national tour, trying to be on podcasts, doing commentary in places. Do you know why she is over anyone else, or has she explicitly stated why? Or
she wants to run
2028, bro.
That's it.
This far in advance, early, that people would start like staking out their positions on it.
Like
Shapiro and Newsom already have books out.
Sure. Well, yeah, I feel like everybody
This
has.
thing's already going.
Rokana was doing the South Carolina tour, and he said, he hasn't announced yet, but it's like, why are you here, dude? Why are you talking about like HBCUs? Like you're from fucking Silicon Valley. It's because he's gonna run. Absolutely.
Okay.
Yeah, she's one of these sort of moderate centrists, and she won in a state that was very difficult, and so I think she's setting herself up for a 2028 run for sure.
She's got a good resume, undeniable. I mean,
where do you rank her among?
She hates the sun, so she's got my vote.
Jeez. Good one.
One of the biggest issues with the Texas redistricting, though, is that they focused on Latino districts, which is not looking good for them. So we actually don't know if those 5 seats will actually flip or if they're safe.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. So all the ones they targeted, pretty much every single one is like heavy Latino districts. which are all turning away from Trump right now, especially in the popularity poll.
Could someone tell me, because I remember when we first had this redistricting fight, there was a kind of projection that OZ, we're echoing on your side, I think a little bit.
Sorry.
It's fine. There was a redistricting like projection of like, if this, spirals down and every state starts doing this, the Republicans are going to get more seats. And that completely collapsed. Why was that? Like, was it because they backed down and they were scared? Or was it because they weren't able to redistrict in the way those projections kind of shot off?
It's crazy. Like in Indiana, they were under a lot of pressure to redistrict, and they chose not to. And I kept looking into it. Why? It just came down to principle. They said it wasn't fair. And so there are Republicans out there who still have principles, believe it or not. So some of it failed because of that. Others saw what happened in Texas and how it caused California to go crazy with Prop 50 and said, we don't want any more of that smoke. We're going to lose this. But you're right. That was Trump's way of cheating in the midterms. That was his plan, the mid-decade redistricting. It's unheard of, and it failed miserably.
Do we know what they're cooking up for all these voter rolls that they're seizing? I think Trump tried to do, was it an executive order banning or trying to limit like mail-in ballots? Did you guys see this? Is that
Pretty sure it was.
Yeah.
Is anybody
Or
talking
to put them under national control.
Yeah, I know.
Yeah.
Hard to focus on any one thing because there's world-ending events happening on the daily now. But yeah,
he wants the Postal Service to have to coordinate with the states and have like a barcode on all the envelopes, but it's just ridiculously unconstitutional, and it's not going to go into effect.
Yeah.
One thing that I mean, obviously, restricting people's ability to vote is bad in principle, but I always wondered if this is like, would this actually help Republicans? Like, outside of a COVID year where, like, of course, there were other factors at play in who was using mail-in voting. Like, the normal voters who use mail-in voting are, like, military, old people, disabled people who are mostly old people.
I think there's a couple things. So one is, you're right. Prior to COVID, all of the research that I saw, I think I'm parroting a bit of a Nate Silver article, but it either was a wash or it slightly favored conservatives when it came to mail-in votes. However, maybe after COVID, since so many people got ballots, like me being one of them, that's really nice to get a mail-in ballot and just mail it. So there might be more people of a certain political persuasion that'd be likely to vote or not vote. But I don't know if that would favor one side or the other. I do think that Trump lost 2020 because of his stance on mail-in ballots, because he's not like he convinced any Democrats not to mail-in ballot, but I bet he turned away enough of his party that he might have been able to win that had he not been so adamantly against them and opposed to them.
I know. I just wonder, like, is this yet another example of Trump being like a brain-broken, deranged person? He's got this conspiracy theory in his head about how this was how he was cheated in 2020. And now, like, outside of the circumstances where a lot of liberals are mailing in, like, he's just so, like, in his own, like, there's no one around him telling him, yet another example of no one being around Trump telling him that his ideas are stupid.
Yeah. That could be the case. I thought it was a stunning revelation among all of the other icy stuff that came out with the Tulsi Gabbard hearing, that she told Congress that Trump called her the morning of to go to Fulton County, the morning of, with the implication being that she wasn't involved in any of the intelligence work or anything related to that. Like, she was just showing up there to be a face or a figurehead for it. So, yeah, I don't know what Trump is cooking up or what they're trying to do with these ballot lists or the voter rolls or these executive orders or anything. Yeah. I think they're really incompetent. I think they're really stupid.
Because it was the first term, but you just made me realize, Ryan, like, how many old people did Trump kill by telling them not to mail in votes during COVID? Like, definitely a non-zero amount.
Yeah, probably, yeah.
Like half the ICE agency, apparently, according to that one death thing.
Oh, that's right. Jesus. I forgot all their deaths were from COVID.
His big gambit was the Save America Act, and he was demanding that Congress pass it or he won't sign anything. He seems to have backed off that now, but the Wall Street Journal came out with an editorial that said it's actually hurt Republicans more than Democrats, because Democrats are more likely to have the documentation needed to prove their citizenship than Republicans, and plus the gutting of mail-in voting is going to hurt a lot of Republicans, and the entire state of Utah votes by mail. So I think his plan has failed miserably. He's left with just his ICE army, maybe to send them to intimidate a couple of minorities at the polling places, but it's not going to work.
Yeah, I think, for all we've said about the Trump admin, the one thing that never fails is their incompetency. They are just so grossly incompetent. I can't believe he fired Bondi. I really didn't think he would, because I feel like she carried so much water for him and all the crazy stuff that he tries to get her to do. I don't know if he fired her. Does anybody know why he fired her? Does he really think there's somebody that can do all the crazy shit that he's demanding? Or
I bet he just felt like he was taking too much heat from Epstein and he was blaming her for it.
yeah, but I
frankly.
feel like she was a
bet
good
that's what he
sponge
thought.
to soak up the hate to some
I agree.
extent for it.
I think he's a stupid, irrational guy, though. I
Yeah.
think that's what.
You saw, I think it was an hour ago or 30 minutes ago, that apparently Trump has just been announcing that he's pardoning every single person, he said, within 200 feet of the Oval.
Oh my God.
Wait, what?
Expected that.
Yeah. There's a
Well,
few sites
I
that are
think-
reporting, yeah.
Wait, do you mean like literally? Like he's like, if you're like like Jesus, like I'll heal you if you come to me. Like,
Well, no,
if
not
you're
lit, but like
within-
just anybody that's been near. I think apparently the quote was, "I'll pardon everyone who has come within 200 feet of the Oval." Trump said in a recent meeting to laughs. Probably just anybody that's been working with his administration or anything. So yeah.
Good, healthy democracy
Firing-
right there.
Well,
The firing of these cabinet secretaries is another sign of Trump's demise, because he wouldn't get rid of them now if he thought he could get people put in those positions in the next Congress. So to me, it's a sign that he thinks he's possibly going to lose the Senate as well. He's got to get these people replaced now.
yeah, possibly. Yeah. Yeah, I'm just surprised at the choices they made. I understand Kristi Noem going. This person, I don't know how they were, whatever. Yeah, but Pam Bondi surprised me. I've heard there was like murmurings of Kash Patel going, but I don't know if that'll happen or not.
Well, the people supposedly on the chopping block are the Commerce Secretary, Howard
I've heard that.
Lutnick, or Nutlick, as I like to call him, who lied about his associations with Epstein. The Labor Secretary, Lori something, her husband's a total creeper who was sexually harassing people in the office. And there was one more. I think Cash was also on the list too, yeah.
How bad do you think Iran has to go for Hegseth to be fired?
I don't know how Haran is going. I'm not sure. I hear every other day that everything has been blown up there, but then planes get shot down, and then I hear we got a 10-point plan, but then I hear it was a 15-point plan, and then I hear that Lebanon is in a ceasefire, but then Israel says it's not, and then Trump is truthing out for people to stop shooting. I don't know. I have no
I'm
idea.
just glad the great diplomats in Pakistan were able to work out a peace deal. I'm
Yeah,
so happy that they were able
true.
to-
The
So
US
happy
read
they
the
were able to pull it out.
transcript from Trump's statement on it. There's like a contradictory statement, I think, every 2 minutes. It's like, the Strait was never a problem. Also, it's still closed. I'm mad at Iran, but we won the war, but we're still at war, but we need to open it. I don't know if like how bad it could go for like you could just make up a new thing every 3 minutes about what's going on.
it's unhinged. It's crazy. Yeah.
Uh,
Do we-
back
what do
to
we
race-
think-
Okay, so
Do we think there's a realistic chance of Trump getting impeached, or of like really crazy stuff happening with the incoming House and Senate? So I feel like you're seeing this more and more. Republicans keep jumping off the ship, hoping that there's going to be like an island close by, but there's not. Like Marjorie Taylor Greene obviously was a big one. You've got your Never Trumpers, you've got like your Massies and everything. But like especially if the midterms are a bloodbath, do you expect this to be like a Republican Congress that's hostile, or the Republicans in Congress, are they going to be hostile to the administration to some extent? Or
Yeah. Well, because no legislation's getting done, so
course.
they're going to have time to do oversight and impeachments. That's what they're going to have time to do. It's going to be hauling a lot of people before Congress, and it's going to be impeaching Trump. I hope they impeach him every week. I hope they impeach him 50 times. I'm not even kidding. I hope they do.
What I'm
I
hearing,
wish that we
Ryan,
could
is
get,
that
like,
if I
one-
donate right now, it's almost like paying money to get Trump impeached. Is that what you're telling me?
that's
Basically-
true. To get to
basically.
51.
I
Yeah.
might go donate again right now.
I wish we could just
Let's
haul up
do it.
anybody relevant in front of Congress to answer questions. Like, I want to see a real deposition of Donald
Oh,
Trump, but
absolutely.
of any of the people in his immediate vicinity, I would just love to see it. But
Yeah.
So what states do you guys think? Because like when we're canvassing, it's really like a 2% like effect you can have. It's really like on the margins. And I'm expecting a blue wave as well. What would like with that 1 to 2%? Where do you guys think like the most impact we can have would be in your opinion?
The places that the DCCC aren't targeting. So anything that's like a plus.
wait, you think Rob?
Not
anything
Texas.
that's
You muted. Yeah. We
You
can't
have
hear
more
you.
to say, Z? Oh. I would, while she's figuring that out, I say not Texas, man. Like we need help in Ohio, where like Sherrod Brown is running for try to get his old seat back from John Husted. I would say Alaska. I don't know what door knocking is like in Alaska, but Mary Patola could use some help. I mean, these less sexy races that will actually determine who controls the Senate.
I want to do Alaska, but I got called a retard the other day for suggesting it.
Trump was just truthing out about it. I think we heard you, Z. Yeah.
You hear me? Okay, cool. Yeah, Alaska's a really good bet, actually. And also, Iowa 1, 2, and 3 are all really close races. Like, they're like +1 to +2 races, and usually the D trip doesn't do those races because they're very spread out races. Those ones are all good.
Okay. Yeah, Texas was on the list because we might have had like a special thing to do there. But really, I think the consensus right now is that for us, we're targeting Michigan, Georgia, Iowa, and Ohio. And I think Michigan, Georgia, and Ohio are the top 3. I think Iowa's a little bit out right now.
How's the North Carolina race looking? Has anyone been following the North Carolina race with Cooper?
Yeah, Cooper's looking good.
Yeah. But there's some congressionals in North Carolina that are looking good.
Yeah, we've got Blair, who was in North Carolina for the 24 canvassing program, and I think the North Carolina Supreme Court seat was won by like less than 100 votes. So, like, if we want to point to like actual impacts that DGG's already done, that's a big one. I know, like in Nevada as well, Jackie Rosen and Susie Lee were both within like door knocking margins on that. So, like I said, it's 1 to 2%, but it really affects the local elections, and that 1 to 2% that could get us over the edge for 51 senators. So donate. Thank you.
I wanted to ask Bryce. You said after the first milestone was hit, the first canvassing event was locked in. Where is the first canvassing event?
We're still figuring that out. Basically, the things that we're going to use to target is based off of like how many organizations in the area are willing to work with us, how much money is being poured into the area. We don't want to go into places that a lot of money are being poured into. So like Michigan and Georgia, that's where they're kind of below Ohio on that. Also volunteers, just the amount of people that can travel. We had Alaska on our sign up list, but Alaska is definitely a lot harder of a get. We'd probably have to pay for flights out there. But yeah, it's a variety of different things. Probably the biggest weighted ones are how many organizations are out there, if they're willing to give us money, and then how many volunteers basically can travel to those states.
Nice.
That makes
You
sense.
guys need help in Alaska. Oh, sorry, guy.
No, go ahead, Z.
Oh, no, I was just gonna say, if you guys need help in Alaska, we've got connections to the Democrats.
Hell yeah, yeah.
Wait, your thing. Wait.
I really
your mic
wanna
cut off
do it.
again.
Just-
You said we've got connections in, and then they stop working again. It's a good troll, though. Good troll.
Wouldn't be a Destiny stream without audio issues.
I have to say, the fact that you guys are thinking about this is really important. I mean, the fact that, people that donate can be assured that y'all are going to use the money effectively, that you're not just going to dump it into some flight of fancy.
Sure.
So I appreciate that.
Yeah, one of the things that really bugged us about the 24 program was when we spent $100,000 in New York. Sorry, I think you're echoing.
Now you're echoing, Z.
Yeah, we spent $100,000 in New York for Jamal Bowman, who I think was like 17 points down at the time. So not a good race. I didn't go to that one. You can roast the rest of PV for that. But yeah, now that we have control.
Yeah, that was not.
What was that, Z?
That was not digital ground game, right?
Where's Jamal Bowman's race?
That was not digital ground game. That was progressive victory. But yes, they did canvas for Jamal Bowman's race.
Oh yeah. Well, it makes sense. Progressive victory makes sense. Okay, I was gonna be like,
Yeah,
that's
exactly.
Yeah. Okay.
I interrupted you earlier, Stephen. Did you have something to say whenever I sort of cut you off?
Me? For what were we talking about?
Oh, just
I
it was a
dumb
question.
question.
Cut you off whenever. Oh,
I was just curious how far away Alaska is. I'm not actually sure. I was really shocked when I went to Hawaii from California. I thought it was gonna be like an hour flight, like it was like Cuba and the Keys or whatever. I didn't realize it was like a fucking 5.5 hour flight to Hawaii from LA or whatever. How far? What is the flight from like Seattle to? Where is What is it? Anchorage? What is it in Alaska? What do you fly to? Is that a real city?
Anchorage.
Oh my god!
They just gotta drop you off randomly. I think.
Is that like a 2-hour flight or is that like a?
It's like a 3.5
Sounds
hour
like 3
flight.
hours or so. It's not bad.
Yeah, still
Pretty
hard to-
far. I mean, you got to go over all of British Columbia. So
That'd be pretty crazy. Like one of my fans got eaten by like a polar bear or something while canvassing, though. That'd be a crazy story.
Well, I also want to get you ice fishing out there. You might get eaten by a polar bear.
Ice fishing?
now that's a donation goal.
Yeah, no,
Exactly.
absolutely not. Definitely
Destiny in the arena with a polar bear
not. Yeah.
for the goal of Democratic
$1
funding.
million.
You want to get all the haters, mobilize the haters.
What do you think for these upcoming midterms? I don't know, like how strong the campaigning has been so far. Wait, I'm super echoing.
See,
Sorry.
again.
You're good.
My mic fucked again. Oh my god.
Do you think that Republicans are most of them? Do you think going to be messaging on like MAGA? Like, what do you even message on as a Republican right now? Like, all the old MAGA points are kind of gone, right? It can't be like wars or affordability or like I don't even like what do you even talk about?
They just kind of do the Brendan Fraser meme where they look at you with
And
tears in their eyes.
please vote for
Come on,
us
just
or not the
please vote.
Democrats.
Wait, yeah,
Good
guy,
old
like
trans
what?
people.
You're in on the you're battling out with these magatards every day. What is like the narrative now? Because like many of these people are having trouble defending the war. They're having trouble defending the economy and the tariffs. Like what are they? Is there any hope within their party of
They
like, oh,
won't.
but we're moving this way and that's what we're going to run on?
They don't
Like,
debate. They haven't debated Trump for years. I mean, I don't know if you've been involved in these talks. You might know this, but like if you try to challenge any of these people in debates, I remember this was the case for Andrew Wilson. It was a case for Myron. It was a case for everybody that they tried to set me up with for James for Modern Day Debate and even for Pangburn. Because Constantine wouldn't even really argue this either. Nobody will defend Trump anymore. All these motherfuckers were like, you gotta save civilization, you fucking gotta vote for Trump, gotta. And now they're like, well, I don't want to really debate. I'm not debating Trump. I'm not here to defend Trump, And it's like, really? Because all you guys were shamelessly plugging him for the election. So yeah,
that's literally happening to me right now. I Modern Day reached out and Andrew Wilson's like, do you want to debate is Trump a fascist? I'm like, no, because you're just going to be pedantic about the definition. Why don't we defend Trump's record? And I have yet to hear back, so I'm assuming that's going to happen.
And then apparently you angled that to IRI. Sorry, I misheard you. I didn't know you were asking.
No, you're good. But yeah, guy, like the Trump TikTokers, like your average Trump median Trump voter. What are they looking forward to? Do they have hope in their eyes?
Not really, but they're pointing to the same old men and women sports, and the Democrats are crazy. Their big gambit was fatter tax returns. They were convinced that the one big beautiful bill's tax provisions would give people more money, and they would appreciate that all through the midterms. But unfortunately, we have the data. The average tax return's up about 11%. The average tax return's like $3,600, so it's about $350. Well, that's getting eaten up right now by gas and health insurance increases and groceries, so that's not going anywhere. So they're fucked. They're totally fucked.
What do we think about in some of these other areas where there's like tighter races? Like I know Maine is a big one where I don't like Graham Planner, but he has a lot of oppo research, and obviously I want him to win over Susan Collins. Where do we think that they're just going to like constantly pound that line, or?
Dude, we're in a brave new world right now. I have no idea what works and what hurts him anymore. I thought he was finished. Clearly, I was wrong. So I have no idea what to think anymore about Graham Plattner. He's got the fight agency people working with him. Are you guys familiar with those people?
They're like the main.
Yeah.
Like, who's the main guy? He's a young guy. He just started out. Yeah, Morris Katz. It's weird because there are two people with the last name Katz in that organization of 5 people, but they are not related. So no.
Yeah.
But yeah, it's Rebecca Katz is one of them, and then Morris Katz is the other one. Morris Katz is the one that did the ads for Mamdani's campaign.
They're talented. They've worked with a lot of those kinds of like populist-y figures, and they are good at what they do. They win a lot of races.
Yeah, that's just.
I'll also say, when I talk to Trump supporters now, they tell me it's coming. Just wait. You'll see. These special elections don't mean anything. The general electorate doesn't come out for special races. The polls show you guys still suck. And they think Trump's just going to pull out a miracle. I don't know. They really don't seem to understand how midterms work.
I mean, historically, Trump has always had really dog shit performance for his midterms, right? His voters are very like sycophantically, cultishly obsessed with him. Like he has a really hard time turning people out when he's not on the ballot.
Yeah, it's like even when he accuses us of voter fraud, it'll be like, all right, like yeah, sure, you frauded the general, but then you didn't fraud all the down ballot races for some reason. But like yeah, it turns out that like MAGA doesn't really do down ballot races. Period.
Well, because he's calling people rhinos, he's shitting on down ballot candidates nonstop. He doesn't support any of these guys, so it's tough for Republicans down ballot. Poor guys.
Do you think they just have to? Sorry, go ahead, Z.
I was going to say Graham Planner's raised twice the amount that Susan Collins has raised, which is actually crazy, considering that he started nothing. He started with no fundraising list. Likely, he's never run for any position before. That's pretty impressive.
I'm not convinced he's going to win that. I know the polls say otherwise, and he's more popular. But I mean, Janet Mills is a solid candidate. I see some shitting on her in the media, but this is somebody who's been governor, who's won statewide. It's an old state. The electorate there is old as shit, and she's old. So I think people are overlooking her a little bit.
What are the polls saying right now?
I think isn't it like 20-point difference at this point? I thought it was pretty bad for Mills.
I don't like state polls. I never think much of state polls, though. That may be cope, but I just think they're dog shit. They're like 400 people, and they're never accurate in any way.
I criticize polls all the time. I'm right there with you.
I mean, he's got
Ryan.
on her though, in some of these 10 points, 11 points.
Yeah, I'm seeing 27 point
Jesus.
lead.
Damn. Yeah,
I
that's
think-
People are saying Mills is skipping events and everything now. Is that true?
I know she hasn't been holding as many events, but I don't know what that actually means. I don't know if she's skipping them or if she just isn't scheduling as many.
I mean, she's also like old as shit, so maybe she's just like tired, but she just like don't want.
Hold on. What does old as shit mean? We're in a new political world. Does that mean in her 60s or 80s?
She's got to be older than 60. Much older than 60.
Because like 61,
She's
62,
78.
you're a whippersnapper.
Yes.
Okay, 78 is, I would say that
Spring
qualifies
chicken.
for old as shit. Okay, 78 is old as
Yeah,
shit.
she's not as old as Bernie. She didn't see the fall of the Reich, but she is now battling an SS tattoo.
Well, what are your opinions on this? Hutch wanted to debate me on this, and I was like, yeah, I don't know if I want to do that.
The tattoo?
On the tattoo situation.
Oh, he's lying 100%. I sort of give him the benefit of the doubt about the story of how he got, whatever. I can't prove or disprove it. You don't go 15 years having that on you without knowing what it is.
What is he saying? What was his excuse for it?
He got it while drunk in Croatia or something in the military on shore
He knew
leave.
what it was when he was getting it.
I don't know if he knew what it was whenever he says he didn't know what it was I have no idea.
But somebody would have
I
pointed
can't
it
prove or
out
disprove
or
the
something,
story.
right? That's just a long time to.
That's what I'm saying. That's the part that I think is a lie. The 15 years having it on your body and you never
And
see
he's
a
like a
movie.
history and war buff. Like,
Yeah,
you
this
should
guy
know
was
that.
in the
That's a pretty
army. What do you
popular-
mean? Like, or the military, right? This guy, yeah, I don't know. That's kind of.
No, it strains plausibility, that's for sure, the 15 years. Even if I give him the pass on the story, I think he's lying about that.
But you know what, guys? As a Jew, I'm voting for the Nazi tattoo over Collins, and I think her concernometer should be very high right now.
Oh, yeah. No, of
Well,
course.
Whoever wins has my support. I think Janet Mills is a better candidate.
Oh, sure, yeah, no, I agree with that. I'm just saying, I'm trying
I
not
think Collins is
to
a
not too much lib divide here, because no matter what happens, we gotta beat the Republicans.
That's true.
For sure.
His
For sure.
whole-
I just think Collins is a tough out. Yeah.
That too, right? Like a lot of them quit, but the fight agency people stayed, which is interesting because they're like super progressives. Those guys.
Yeah. Yeah,
doesn't
and
make
they've got a
sense.
good track record. I mean, I think leading up to 2028, looking at who they decide to back is going to be interesting.
Yeah.
Well, but-
yeah, they don't
but see-
come with, like loser fucking candidates that are like in the deep blue seats.
They made a bad bet with Fetterman, but we'll overlook that.
Yeah, well, but Fetterman is surprised. I don't know. Fetterman was a great candidate at one point.
Yeah. What were you saying, IRA?
I was just curious if Z thought like the celebrity factor played any role in that organization staying involved, because he's got a lot of attention on him and he's raising a lot of money. So why wouldn't you want to attach your train to that? Hook your train to that.
I don't know. Like, if there's no way out of that lie, that's a pretty. Because what they do is comms, right? So like, I would get it more so if they were doing like field or something. But how do you recreate that narrative that's already out there? I don't know. You got to be good at your job.
Well, I don't think anti-Semitism is detrimental to your campaign if you're further left, but I do think lying is, and I don't know how people are giving him a pass on that bullshit excuse that nobody ever brought it up to him. Hey, man, that looks like your tattoo, or you would notice that on your chest over the years, like, man, that looks like what I have on my chest.
I mean, I feel like people, if you don't.
Simpsons with Sideshow Bob, and it's like, does it not say "Die Bart Die" tattooed on your chest? He's like, no, that's German for D Bart D. Like.
I feel like as long as you just don't pay much attention, you just keep carrying on, eventually people will stop bringing it up. I think that's the strategy. for better or for worse, it's more or less, I think, where the
Posting
media
through
environment
it?
of the West, yeah, basically is going. It's how Farage survived so much stuff in the UK. It's how Trump has made it through so much stuff, all the ridiculous stuff of this administration, of all the cabinet level people. Like, how do you, like, imagine it again, I hate this, imagine if a Democrat, but like, imagine a Bongino type character, Kash Patel, screaming on podcasts, I got a guy in the fucking CIA who called me, the Epstein files, they told me they've seen all the rape videos, and Christy Nome with the binders handing it to everybody, and then nothing. It evaporates in a year. But like, no, just don't pay attention to it. Whatever, keep moving through it. Who cares, right? It just seems crazy to me that there's no accountability, but it's because they just don't pay any attention to it, right? Like Trump literally saying, like, oh, I don't care about any of the Epstein files, whatever. He just like moves on. It's like, okay, yeah.
I think if you start off your career not giving a fuck, then you can continue to do that. But if you like ever capitulate at any point,
Yes.
it makes you look worse.
100%, yeah. That's why you got to keep posting through it, yeah.
True.
I think Mills
I think Flatner's
really-
probably going to win that race. I think he's probably going to win the primary, and I think he's probably going to win the race. I think, I don't know. Clearly they like him. And I think I have faith. I have faith in the blue wave this year.
Do you think Mills can hinge more of her campaign on like her standing up to Trump? I know that's kind of what Crockett did in Texas, like, but she made it like very, very like I'm going after him. But like the fact that Mills defended like the trans like community just to his face, just like I'll fucking see you in court, dude. Like good luck. Like that really inspired me in a way. And you know, if a 78-year-old can do that, I think more people need to be talking to him like that.
She deserves a massive amount of credit for that.
I think it's just that she's a tested product. You know, they know what they're getting with her. Where with you guys brought up Fetterman, like I don't think people want another repeat of Fetterman, and Plattner seems risky. So I think a lot of people will just go with what they know, and she's solid and she delivered for them, and so that's why I think it has more to do with that than anything else.
So guys, we are 5K away from 100,000. Holy shit.
Base.
5K.
Do people
Z,
Ladies and gentlemen, get
you're
in.
a bona fide political operative. I'm curious, like, what does like $100,000 look like? Or maybe this is a question for Steven or someone else. But like $100,000 is a lot of money. What kind of stuff? Is that a lot of money? Like, what does that look like for a political organization? I guess you're a bona fide political operative.
$100,000 is probably more than the candidate has raised her whole race that you guys are working for potentially. So it's a lot.
Texas 23, yeah.
Yeah, in Texas 23, I mean, I don't even think she's raised 100,000 the whole race. So it's a huge amount. It's fucking awesome. You probably hit like, I mean, if you guys are just doing like a standard canvassing operation, you'd be able to hit like probably like 20,000 plus doors with that, right?
So our numbers are usually closer to $1 per door. Like in the 24 campaign, I think the total canvassing cost was $360,000, and we got like 350,000 doors. Like we're really efficient when it comes to
Okay,
that.
but Bryce, what if you take the pizzas you use and you slice them like the teachers slice them back in fourth grade, where you
Double
just have, like
thin.
the little sliver, and so like
we
everyone gets-
basically did that for the Vegas event. We ran the Vegas event for like less than $500, and it was Costco pizzas and then Dr. K, not even the good like 2
Dr.
liters.
K, Mr. Pibb, let's go. We'll take all the off-brand
right.
stuff in the
August
name of the Democrats.
I'm
I was
curious.
gonna
Name brand soda is another donation goal.
As a quick thing, when it comes to raising money, it really depends on the level of the race too. Like there are like certain towns or whatever, like where your city council races can be in like the thousands of dollars or maybe $10,000 or $20,000 or whatever. Obviously, like DC is going to be a lot larger, or like New York City is going to be fucking huge. But for that, it's one number. State races can, I think I've seen as low as like $50,000 for like a whole state assembly race, and then that can go really high depending on the state. And then once you get into the congressional or governor things, I think you're in the millions of dollars that are raised usually for those races.
It's all depending on your win number. So, like, if you have a low win number, the thing is, if you took $100,000 and you put that into one state, you could probably take over every city council seat in that whole state if it was small enough. So you could make a massive impact with that. But if you bring that into like a U.S. Senate race, I mean, it's gonna, it's a blip.
I'm actually curious. You guys probably know this better than I, but like, what is the strength of $1 in like a TV ad versus a canvassing event, and how many votes you actually convert?
So like a TV ad. So if you put, here's like the scam of like TV versus canvassing, right? Like if you knock on somebody's door, most studies show that if they've never been talked to before and they don't know anything about this race, they're 7 times more likely to go out and vote because you knocked on their door. So you have a 70% conversion rate versus a TV ad where I mean, unless you're doing CTV, like connected TV, there's no way for you to measure that. So a lot of consultants will try to say like, oh, well, why would you knock a door when you can just get like 100 eyes on the same ad, right? So you're talking to one person versus 100 people. But that's all bullshit because it doesn't matter if those 100 people don't go to the fucking polls, right? Like
Yeah.
it only matters if they go to the polls. So what you want to look at instead is you want to look at the voter conversion rate. That's going to get you the best idea of what you're actually spending on a race. So like if you're a first time candidate, you've never run before, you're in like a mid-tier type of district, you should be spending anywhere between like $5 and $8 per vote. That's the standard. If you run like a shitty campaign, you're spending like usually between like $10 and $15 per vote. If you do a really good campaign, like I've seen people do it for like $1. That's pretty rare though.
Yeah, because like when you're watching TV, everyone knows when the commercials come on, that's when you really lock in and pay attention to what's on the screen, right?
Well, the good thing is like on CTV is really cool because we can see like everything. It's kind of fucking creepy. Like I know if I like look up your account, like there are certain systems now I can like take your email, look up your account. I can see everything that you're watching at the exact time that you're watching it. So if I want to target you as a voter, I can make sure I know that you're going to be watching Jeopardy at 7 p.m. I can make sure I'm targeting you at that time. And I can see like whether you've skipped through the ad or not. So the only way you can do it really without that is like ad block, right? But I can also see if you have ad block. So CTV is like super effective. It's way more effective than these like, you know, free to air, you know, the old school broadcasts that they used to do where they just, you know, you give them $200,000 and you fucking just hope for the best.
Shotgun it out. Yeah.
If they even do that, that's part of the problem too, right? Because like a lot of consultants get away with just not putting out ads at all, and there's no way to track it properly. But with CTV now, you can track everything, so it's pretty cool. But yeah, you could see a lot on people. So if you think your shit is private, it's not. Like we can see literally, like unless you have ad blocker, we can see fucking everything that you're
I just Google things I don't like just to throw them off, you know? Anytime you see a weird search, it's because I'm trying to break the big data algorithm.
True.
I mean, there's so many things now too. I mean, even with like social media ads, like 15 years ago, like social media ads were, I mean, it was pretty much the same as like broadcast TV. But now with social media, we can see everything. And so we can like really deeply target people that we want, which means that you're going to spend less money per vote, right? It's like, if I know that I have to talk with you, it's going to cost me way less than if I'm just like talking to everybody in your zip code.
I don't know. Maybe we need a law against that. That sounds creepy.
Listen, it's made our lives as Democrats so much easier.
I'm just kidding. I'm just kidding.
Had this for so long. Like every time we come out with a new app, right? Like for example, like let's just say like GPS like canvassing softwares, right? Yeah. Republicans had these for like 15 plus years, and Democrats are just now doing it. So they're all like with all the CTV stuff, they've been doing this for years, and we've only just caught on the last 2 years. And we do this with everything. It's like why we're so fucking terrible at flipping elections that we should win, because consultants they're not like on the cutting edge of softwares and stuff like that.
Now, the Republicans were really ahead of Democrats for a while in terms of trying to take over state legislatures, right? With like Project Red Map and stuff like that to try and control redistricting. Are Democrats making any progress on pushing back on that sort of thing?
They're not. Like that's the other thing too, is like these large organizations, they have like full ballot chasing initiatives that we don't ever do that. Like it was funny because yesterday, like I live in a very red town, right? In Nevada. We're like outside of like 45 minutes outside of Vegas. And we pretty much every seat in our town is red. I think we have one person that just flipped a seat. But everything else is red. And TPUSA has been handing out like those ballot chasing initiative papers. So they're already stocking up to get people out here to start ballot chasing way before we even have our primary. Wow. And Democrats, and the thing is like, we're like decently flippable. I mean, we're probably like a plus, it depends on the seat, but like somewhere between like a +6 and probably a +9 at the most. And like we have no ballot chasing initiatives out here at all. In fact, it's hard for us even to find Democrats that are willing to run against Republicans out here.
Speaking of numbers, plus 100,000 in the donations. Fucking
good
job,
correct.
everyone.
I was just about to bring that up. We just eclipsed the 100,000 mark. So let's go. Good job, guys.
Destiny have
What's
to
up?
dye his hair blue.
At
When
100,000.
No way do we put that on
Oh,
there.
Moon's dyeing his hair
Moon's
blue at
dyeing his-
100,000. So we got
You
yeah.
didn't know? You
Oh,
didn't know? You didn't know
okay,
that?
okay.
I'm too old. I'm
It
pretty
says
sure if I
blue
dye
hair.
my hair, it'll all fall out. I gotta stay fresher than a sun, at least on my facial hair. Jesus, okay? I can't let them pass me up there.
Let's go to Turkey. Get the
Okay.
the hair plugs.
Yeah.
The bald. So really quick, we got to start transitioning to the next segment. So everybody do their sign-offs. I really appreciate y'all being here. I really appreciate for everybody for watching. If you haven't already, donate at the link down below or hit the QR code on the screen. Recurring donations also help us out a ton. But yeah, hand it off to you guys for sign-offs.
Let's start with
okay,
Guy.
I'll go.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, there we go.
Well, thank you guys for putting this together. I think it's great to give people something to get involved in. And look, to everybody out there, if you're not getting involved in this, just sign up for knocking doors in your neighborhood. Just do one shift. Don't think you have to dedicate every weekend. Just go do one shift. You're going to be around some excited people who are motivated. And hey, you might meet a hottie too. So you never know.
At one of these
guy.
I think it's like the second time guys like, hey, you know where you can meet girls? Like political
We're trying to
events.
appeal to
That's so
young
true.
guys here. Okay. What do young guys care about?
Okay,
Yeah,
everyone-
you go through-
There are
you
some
go through
very
it- you
cute
go through
political
it.
girls.
You go through shared adversity together. You know, that's a real test of the relationship.
And when you door knock, you do technically get a lot of girls' numbers. I'm just saying. I mean,
Maybe knocking on their door. I don't know. Like, isn't your community like 90% dudes, 95% dudes?
Yeah. Also, I feel like generally the people that answer doors are a little bit older, like 40s, 50s plus. So
I didn't say how old they were. I just said
I'm
they were
not-
girls. Sorry. I mean,
Yeah, I'm not saying you're going to meet women at their door, okay? That's weird. I'm talking about the other volunteers.
and it's fun to
Well, you
socialize
know
in
where they
general,
live
right?
already,
It's good.
so you
It's
can
always
pick them
good
up
to
for the
be
date
in
and-
real life and to have like social experiences with people because these are exceedingly rare apparently now. So yeah.
Touching grass is always good.
Yeah.
There's never a bad time to touch grass, ever. Never, ever, ever. I'm going to go do it after I get off this panel. And speaking of that, thanks so much for having me on. I really appreciate
Thank
it. You guys are doing such great work here. I'm so happy to be part of it. Steven, thank you for lending your platform to this. Digital Ground Game, you guys are putting in the work. Thanks so much for having me on for the second time.
Yeah. Thanks for joining us.
Awesome. Thank you so much.
yeah, I mean, same message. And I'm always struggling, like, people in my community, me, what do we do? What do we do? What do we do? This is material funneling, will and power. Same stuff with like Z and UFA. Like, here's what you do. You go out, you put your time, you put your money in, and you're gonna see change. You're gonna see change in November. You're gonna see that you made a material difference. And like, if you've ever worked on a project and felt like, oh my God, like I see the fruits of my labor. This is how you do it in politics. Every time you get upset about what's happening, this is how you say, well, I can change this. One person can change this. So put your time if you can't put in money, put money if you can't put in time. And just thank you guys for putting this together. I appreciate it. Go donate.
Thank you for joining us. Yeah. And Z?
Z.
Yeah, I want to see you guys get to 250K today because I think that would be sick as hell. So do that. Love the GG community. You guys are like family to the NGG community. We even have names that are similar. So want to see you guys raise a bunch of money, and anything we can do to support, please let us know.
Yeah, 100%. In the same way.
Cool.
Fantastic. Awesome. Thank you guys for being here. We're going to move on to the next segment. And yeah,
Awesome. Good luck, guys.
Thank you for joining us.
thanks.
We still live still?
Yeah. Why do you want me to not be live? Do you want to put me on the?
No, I want you to be live, and I
Okay.
want you to pull up right now the thermometer graphic
It's up.
for our new total that we are at and our next goal. Let me know. Actually,
It's up.
I'm behind on stream.
Well,
Ladies and gentlemen,
wait, hold on. Is this like
I'm holding.
logarithmic or something, or what?
What do you mean?
What am I looking at?
You can see. Are you asking me to answer like is the difference between 72 and 100 more than the difference between 100 and 150? Is this
Why
what
does it
you're
say
wondering?
100 and then 150 and then 150 and then 200?
Because the 72 because those are different goals. The reason why it isn't even 50K is because 36 and 72 is beating PV and then lapping PV. Okay.
No, but I'm saying like why we made it to 100K. What's our next goal?
Our next goal is $150,000.
Yeah, and then what's
If
the
we
goal
can-
after that?
After
200.
100 at 200.
No, it's 150 again. Am I blind? Am I crazy? Is he trolling me?
You're looking at an old version of the graphic. There was an error on the graphic.
Oh my goodness. What's going on here, guys?
You got to go to the new link. The point is, listen, the little scale on the left, all right, there was a misinput on the graphic on the left. But it was
even the one you have on stream is correct. Can you just not read?
What?
No, it's on the left. Instead of 200 and 250, it's 150 again and then 200.
You've trolled enough today, Bryce. Stop trolling. You've trolled too much. You trolled too much.
Goddamn troller, Bryce.
You're a goddamn
I've
troller.
had enough of your shit. Folks, we are going to get into an exciting segment here with Dylan and Anna. But before I hand it off to those amazing people, I'm just going to make one final push here. We've got Mr. Mooten dyeing his hair blue. We've got a house program that's going to be happening, knocking doors for 4, 5, 6 months at a time, doing real deep organizing. But the question is, are we going to have 2 events? Is there going to be a live anything else episode at one of these events? And are we going to get Destiny to do a stream with the Burnt Peanut VTuber model and doing all the big eye anime reactions? That's the remaining question. Every little bit helps, and especially I got to shout out, if you can't afford $50, even a recurring donation of $1 or $2 is a huge difference. The ability for us to know, hey, we've got a roughly $300 coming in every month, allowing us to pay for little things like emails, like the website. It makes a huge difference. So if you are strapped, if you can only do a couple bucks a month, that is incredibly valuable, and please don't hesitate. Without further ado, I'll hand it off.
Hello, Dylan and Anna.
Hi.
You guys
Hi, it's been a while.
wanted to talk about Ukraine. We got about 2 minutes for it, and then we got to kick you. No, I'm just kidding. What's up? How's it going?
Typical. That's what we get usually. Thank you.
It's going good. I just got back to Ukraine this morning. Went by bus, 17 hours of dread.
Ew.
Just my head bumping against the window, sweating through all my clothing.
Where are you
terrible.
busing from?
So I flew to Estonia. I stayed in Tallinn for a bit, just wanted to see the sights, see Russia's next target. And then I went to Poland, and I took a bus from Warsaw all the way to Kiev.
Gotcha.
Yeah.
Can I ask a question? Can you pass through Belarus, or is that a no-no? How does that work?
No, I'd like to keep
No.
my fingers.
Yeah. Okay. All right.
Nah, don't do that.
Gotcha.
Wait, what's up with Belarus? I'm not familiar with that. They steal your
Nice
fingers?
to stay that way. No, I mean, it's
Okay,
just
cool.
they're literally basically Russia, in all intents and purposes. So they
Okay, fair
we
enough,
get
fair enough.
bombed from there. We get all sorts of shit. Initial in 22 attack on Kiev region, for example, was primarily from there. So it's
Really?
best
Okay.
not to go there if you're of any notoriety. If you're known in any way, no, you will be get arrested and thrown into some
Okay,
funny
cool. So I'm
gulag.
safe.
There have been
Yeah.
airplanes. There was a scandal a while ago where an airplane over Belarusian airspace was diverted so they could actually take people off of the plane because of their critique of the Russian government. So, I mean, they are definitely an extension of Russia's long arm.
Yep.
Yeah, not good. Jesus. Okay, cool. Well, I'll let you guys get into it. Sorry.
Yeah, not good. What do you want me to say? It's bad. Well, how is it going? Yeah, man, it's real bad for you guys. Man, it's a pretty kind of gloomy day. I think all the sanctions have been lifted on every single Russian ally, and everything is they're making oil money and everything else. So, what do you got for us today? Yeah.
What we got is that administration and the year of Trump was complete fuckery. We all have been extremely, obviously, felt very dreadful when he won, specifically because I was worried about many people were worried about the pressure that they will enact on us to capitulate, which they tried to do, basically presenting us with Russian list of Russian wishes and telling us do that, or else we will cut off that, or else you're screwed. Basically, you have no cards, infamously, and that was what they did. But I also was worried about our own people, obviously, being under that immense pressure of fighting the country 30 times our size, sponsored as well by Iran, China, North Korea, all sorts of shit, right? and also now having to deal with this, I was worried that maybe our representatives will just cave under that pressure. Thankfully, they didn't. Thankfully, yes, they didn't. They actually tried to, defend their interest, and I appreciate that. But yeah, also the recent events have been Iran shit that ended up being good only for Russia, I guess, and Iran, because they now, will control, have money for that straight up Hormuz, and even have even more political control of the other people in the region. So your allies got bombed, I guess, as well, like Saudi Arabia and United Arab, Kuwait, all sorts of shit. And we now have to deal with Russia earning billions over oil. I think it was like their crude grew like twice the sales they're doing. So all that money would be redirected into bombing us. So yeah, we're trying real hard, okay, to destroy their oil refineries, to destroy their factories, like to chip away at their like economy with our own stuff, our own drones and things like that. And now United States, allegedly, that is like our ally, if you can call it that now, helped them big time to basically gave them like this, don't die, Russian economy, don't die. And that's what happened. And it will be a fucking terrible thing now for us. Yeah, there's nothing to be happy about, to be honest. Like this European Union relations with the United States are horrible. We didn't get any aid whatsoever in 25 from United States, and US aid has been catastrophic for us because we depend on it. Our like coordination centers depend on it. Our generators, our energy sector that Russia destroyed, bombed on it. We had people freezing to death this winter, which is pretty horrible by all accounts. People lived through minus 20 Celsius weather without any heating for months, and all of that is because we have a person like that basically put the leash of Russia. They're no longer worried about any repercussions, because with Biden, as much as people, for example, shit on him or not doing enough, every time Russia did something extremely gross, there would be some sort of repercussions. They will give us more. They will lift more of the help us out with more like military aid and things like that, and pressure Russia more. And with Trump, there's nothing. He like green lights basically everything they do, and then they shit in his throat every time he says, Putin told me they're not gonna bomb Ukraine, and the next day the biggest bombing since 22. And like nobody cares about what he says. Nobody says about the United States. What they say is not treated seriously. Like even this fucking thing with the whole we will destroy the civilization, like I'm not for it. Like I didn't want him to do it, but what did he do? Like you can't dish out threats like that and then do nothing and expect to be treated seriously, especially by people like Putin and Russia, who only understand basically the language of power. And you're not projecting power, you project stupidity and lunacy and indecisiveness. So yeah, guys, really, really need to have Democrats back, because that is something that is, directly affected my life and the life of Ukrainian people, but it also directed the life of people in the European Union. It directed the lives in the people in the Middle East now as well. And it's all because of this absolutely unhinged administration. So yeah.
Yeah, I will say on a slightly more positive note, it's understanding that you guys are obviously there. So, I mean, I'm sure it sucks for sure, but like, it is kind of fascinating to think about. Fascinating is a dark way to say it, but like, Russia's kind of had almost everything they could have possibly dreamed of since Trump was elected, in terms of the United States basically completely pulling support. The European Union is still kind of struggling to find its feet. Iran has been helping Russia as much as they can, and they still are obviously struggling to accomplish any of the ends that they really wanted to with Ukraine. So, I mean, it is pretty amazing given how many different ways Ukraine has gotten fucked over the past, like, few years that Russia is still fighting over the same small bits and pieces of land. That is. Yeah. Yeah. I mean, it speaks to the tenacity, I guess, of your country, and I mean, it's a thing to be admired, I would think. Yeah. Because, I mean, everything Putin has gotten, like, so many handouts from Trump and so much goodwill from Trump and everything else. And, like, despite all of that, like, they're still stuck. Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, but that's mostly just because now, for example, we produce a lot of our own stuff, thankfully, which wasn't the case, for example, in 22 and 23, and even in 24 as much as it is now. So we can sort of like a little bit depend on ourselves somewhat, but still the lack of that aid is very much felt. And if Europe like ups their game, it would be like I guess sort of like easier, but it's just pretty. Like, as much as I wanna like brag about my people being awesome and fighting off that immense power with everything we have, it's also quite difficult, to put it mildly,
For sure.
right?
And I mean,
yet-
look at how
yeah,
backwards the world is, how stupid it is that Iran, this country that has been sanctioned literally forever, is still managing to help Russia out with drones. Meanwhile, the United States of America, which we spend an ungodly amount on our military, and all these other countries are going to Ukraine and asking for help, like intercepting drones in the Middle East. It's just an insane asymmetry on both sides. It's just so stupid.
Yeah.
Like,
did
it should
get
be the
those
other way
sweet
around, that
deals.
Iran should be begging Russia for some kind of help, and that, Ukraine should be flush with assistance and everything else from the West. But yeah, it's just so stupid. It's so backwards everything is right now. Yeah.
Yeah, it is. But we at least got some sweet deals with the Middle Eastern countries for like 10-year contracts of providing them with anti-drone and drone defense, and that's like at least somewhat good that happened because of this. But yeah, I don't know if that overweighs the damage, so to speak. And so let's give it to Dylan probably.
Man, for me the last year, I mean, I was filled with so much dread on election night. And because I could just map out the next year in my head, and I could map out the next few years in my head. I knew that the demands that the Russians would make would be too unreasonable in every way, whether the evacuations of hundreds of thousands of people from their land, the disarming of the Ukrainian state, and what would likely be setups for the next invasions, the pressuring of Kharkiv or further strikes into the Dnipro region, the Zaporizhia region. And so I knew that those demands would not be accepted. I knew there would not be 24-hour peace deals, and when the peace deal inevitably failed, who would be the people whispering in Donald Trump's ear? It'd be people like Tulsi Gabbard. And I remember on election night having Republicans come on my stream telling me, they're not going to pick Tulsi Gabbard. That's ridiculous, Dylan. Now that he's won, he's going to pick mainstream suits. The idea that we're going to get here names that we've never heard before, and instead we got the guy on Fox News that nearly beheaded somebody with an axe, and we got Tulsi Gabbard, and we got a whole other list of chuckle fucks who don't know what they're doing. And for the last year, not only have we seen the United States tamper down its support to just be basically a few thousand artillery shells a month, intelligence support, and ATACMS support, which is, I will say, notable and important support that only the United States can provide. Only the United States can provide ballistic missile support. There is no other country on the planet that has the tools to help intercept the Russian ballistic missile arsenal. Only what we have in our arsenal can do that. And so we are still doing that, but now in limited margins, because the President of the United States, the anti-war candidate, is starting other wars of choice. We've seen more anti-air interceptors used in the Middle East over the last month than we have seen used over Ukraine over the entirety of the Russian invasion. To give you an idea of the expense of American munitions over this short period. Mind you, the Elbridge Colby Donald Trump model was, we're going to pivot from Ukraine, we're going to pivot from the Middle East, and we're going to use it to face down the Chinese. What instead we've gotten is another war in the Middle East that seems to be going nowhere. We've now proven that the Iranians can tamp down on the Strait of Hormuz, mess with international transit security, and then demand $2 million a pop for the trouble, all while the Iranians are making more money now from energy than they were before the war. And the Russians, they're unsanctioned. At the same time that they are picking up their air attacks, they aren't stopping their atrocities. I hear daily reports of civilians being targeted in Kherson. I've talked about this before, but I've talked to ambulance drivers who have had degloving head injuries. I've seen my good friend Eugene about 2 weeks ago when he was trying to evacuate an 83-year-old woman and a 64-year-old woman. They were both splattered and killed in the back of the van as they were trying to leave Konstantinivka, which right now is a hunting ground. And each time we see these attacks ramp up, not only is there a less of a response from the American government, there is no response from the American government. The best example of this would be the Bucha anniversary. Originally, and the anniversary of Bucha, you would see all of these visits from state dignitaries, people going to look at the mass grave, as many, and myself included, have gone and seen. It's very hallowed ground. Then you would see a second post maybe the next year. But since Trump came in office, the first year, they said something on the anniversary, something mild. This year, they didn't say anything at all. When they talk about Russia trafficking children, they don't say they're trafficking children. They say, oh, we got 5 children back that were rehoused. They have desanitized the language to help through their own terminology, justify Russia's actions. Every time J.D. Vance talks about it, like, oh, it's a territorial dispute. Oh, they're just fighting over a few villages. We're talking about the homes of hundreds of thousands of people. I mean, we're talking about, like, the state, enough people to fill up, like, the state of Utah. Would we
Something
just, that's just the state of Utah.
Real quick, something that's annoying that you just brought up is even the dignitary visits to Ukraine, I saw people on both sides doing this, were spinning these as like anti-Western propaganda. Because I remember people saying that the only reason why Ukraine is still trapped in this war is because Boris Johnson would go down there and he would give advice to Ukrainians to keep fighting forever and not accept like the really good peace offerings from Putin and stuff so that the West could keep fighting with Russia. And it's like, where are all of these conspiracy theorists now that the West is not supporting Ukraine? Like, shouldn't that be the whole case? If we wanted to destroy Russia, wouldn't we be supporting? Like, it's just, oh God, it's so fucking annoying.
There's only two guys are silent now. Okay?
Yeah, Jesus.
I don't hear anything from these motherfuckers. They're never to be seen. Yeah.
You can't call it naive at a certain point because they've had 4 years to learn. I like to think for some of them it's naive and a lack of knowledge because people checked in at the start of the war, right, which a lot of people didn't think was going to happen in the first place. Then they didn't reevaluate what led them to dismiss the fact that Russia invading was a possibility, and then immediately just grabbed for what other justification so they could fit into their the prescribed worldview. When it comes to the Boris Johnson situation, people don't know what was being demanded. People just say, oh, there was this avenue for peace, and if you just entered in the fucking Contra Code of diplomacy, we could have avoided the whole thing altogether. The Russians were demanding, after they failed to take Kyiv, that Ukraine disarm itself. They said, we believe if you get rid of the tanks, get rid of the artillery, get rid of the infantry, get rid of the territorial defense forces, get rid of all the things that stopped us from taking you the first time. And if you know anything about Russian history, whether it be Russian subjugation of Estonia, when they went into Estonia without a shot being fired and they had to be welcomed in because their force was so overwhelming. Within a year, there was no more Estonia. All of the civil society was being deported to the east to work in gulags. And I'm just saying that it's very clear that that is a setup for another invasion. That was not an option. That was the sticking point. At the same time, mass graves were being uncovered. Bucha is one name. Bucha was the name that the press grabbed onto. Bucha was just one example of hundreds and hundreds of examples that happened just that year alone. And since then, there have been many, many more. The Russians are conducting raids into Sumy right now, grabbing civilians and then deporting them across the border. That's happening right now. When you're talking about the rehousing of civilians, these are the circumstances we're describing. That isn't rehousing. That is human kidnapping. That is trafficking. And the fact our administration can't even call it what it is shows that they are looking to profit with the government. They're looking to set up businesses. Those reports that indicated that Jared Kushner wants to be on the ground floor for the reopening of Russia, it's not just a question about whether or not this is good for the United States and this is a diplomatic disagreement. The United States government, those who maintain positions of power in it, want to directly profit from the reopening. They are putting their own personal profit over the interests of the country and over a people having its people pushed east.
Yay,
Yeah.
Dylan, you go.
Don't disagree.
I love to fucking hear this, okay? Because he can be as more angry than me because he's American. So I'm just, yes, you go. Because everything you said is true. And it's very, it's very difficult to, because Ukrainians try not to be ungrateful, try not to be too, angry about it. And sometimes you feel like you need a spokesperson. And I would like to everyone to say that Dylan is that guy. We really appreciate him and what he's done. So, yeah, thanks, big buddy.
I mean, yeah,
I think my
it's
war
really the honor
tourism is mild. I don't think it's that good.
It is good. Like on Progressive Victory, I was screaming when you appeared, okay? I was screaming. And I had a friend, by the way, who's a Jewish Ukrainian, and she was also listening to this with me, and she was like, that was a wild panel. Not once we were brought up until you appeared. And yeah, it's just
I really
it was
fucking
a Jew session.
I really hate
Yeah.
the position of like I'm trying to have my one day where I'm not fighting with leftists all the time, but like I really want to correct people. Have you ever seen the Scott Pilgrim movie?
Yeah.
Do you remember how the girl keeps bringing up her 7 deadly exes, and the guy would say, "Oh, your 7 ex-boyfriends," and she'd always correct him to say 7 exes because there was the one girl she dated. Every time these guys say they're anti-war, 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 I always wish somebody would just say, "You're anti the war against Gaza, please," because you don't fucking say anything about Ukraine. Nobody talks about this conflict at all. And it's such a black and white issue compared to, for whatever you want to say on Israel, and there's no shortage of criticism that you can have for Israel or for Hamas. Like, that issue is so much more back and forth bullshit than the Ukraine-Russia stuff, which is like so obviously one-sided. But I just never hear. Well, I say I never hear anybody talk about it, but they also, when you dig into it, they still do believe a lot of weird conspiratorial nonsense about why Ukraine and Russia are fighting as well, which they don't bring out as much. But
I wish, to be honest, they didn't talk about it. It would be an improvement if people
Maybe,
if people like how they called crystal ball thing.
Yeah.
Breaking points.
Breaking points?
Something. Yeah. I wish they didn't talk at all, okay, about Ukraine. Like, that would be better. That would be an improvement, because what they're doing is they're straight up paddling the false narratives about this whole being the fault of the NATO, of United States, of Boris Johnson's, of whatever the hell it is, and they quite literally call our actions terrorist acts. So I would, for example, bombing of the bridge, and which is a valid military target because they quite literally moved their equipment through that bridge, and they said so. So I was really have nothing good to say about those people, and we need someone with consistency on that. I feel like, because when you hear Dylan, for example, speak on that panel, you hear a person who is morally consistent and who is anti-colonialist, anti-imperialist in all senses, right? Not just as a means to attack basically America and United States and the West, and then ignore or even whitewash every single thing that China or Russia do.
Yeah.
It's just quite sad to look at, and I'm glad to see that there are people who don't do it, but a lot of very big people, majority, big channels that, for example, people watch on a daily basis do that in the left sphere and stuff. So yeah, that's great.
I want to be a little blunt, because I think this is what the conversation requires. Now, first off, I want to say Oliver, who was one of the people that the PV campaign was raising funds for, his message on his site for Ukraine seemed perfectly fine. In fact, the fact that he had a section surprised me, and I want to give him credit for that. And that's somebody that I think people could have a good reason to donate to. But the fact that any progressive could be invited to a campaign event where you're going to be fundraising for people who will not take an affirmative for Ukraine aid, is against Ukraine aid, has the same position functionally as Donald Trump. In fact, a worse position currently than the Trump administration, which still allows artillery shells to be sent. I mean, there is no other source for ballistic missile defense in the world than the United States. We ask Ukraine to give up their atomic weapons. We tell them, we will starve you. We will not give you food aid as your children are taking drugs on the street, as you're facing some of the worst inflation, literally the worst inflation human beings had ever seen in the history of humanity after the collapse of the Soviet Union. And we're going to use that moment of vulnerability to say, give us the nukes or Russia will invade you, but we'll give you security assurances. And then we use the word assurances to snake out of our responsibilities in 2014. Barack Obama failed the Ukrainian people in 2014, and Joe Biden somewhat delivered on a promise made after the collapse of the Soviet Union. But now, as Donald Trump is trying to cut off aid, to have any progressive asking anyone to fundraise any money whatsoever for candidates who have the same position of inaction as J.D. Vance, as Elbridge Colby, and any of these other people that would slit the throat of the entire nation in a heartbeat if it made them a dime, that's a problem to me. That's non-progressive, and ultimately, functionally, it's allied with a fascist imperialist state. And people have to realize that that should come with consequences in progressive circles, that should be a mark on your record, something that follows you around. Maybe people follow you and email you on your campaign website and ask you, why do you want to do nothing when cities are burnt down? Will we start a drum circle? Will we start a big parade, a reading group? That's not what Ukrainians need. They need action. And I want to see the same for viciousness and anger and outrage about the tens of thousands of Americans that die every year without health care, for the tens of thousands to millions of people that we would be dooming to occupation, a denial of the civil rights, or possibly death. Occupied territory is hell. Kherson is a hunting ground. A drum circle and thoughts and prayers is not going to fix that. And anyone offering anything less than assistance should not be supported. And so I will say, getting in rooms where I am forced to make decisions about whether or not I'm going to have to support this candidate who's actively not willing to go out there Herzl is his name, by the way. I'll say it directly because that's how politics works. That's insulting to me, and that's insulting to people who are colonized and going under an imperialist occupation. And so, does that seem progressive? No, it doesn't seem progressive. That seems like a Trumpian position.
Based.
There's just so he just speaks with so much passion. It's like there's nothing else I can follow up with. 100% correct.
Someone should. Like, someone should. Like, when you listen to people, they talk about it. This is some sort of game for 3 meters of land. It's the biggest war in the world. Hello. Like, yeah, it's just like cities are destroyed to the ground. Like the amount of our cities and towns and villages that is destroyed is about like 20% of the country. Do you know how much that is? It's a big country by European standards, and people were freezing to death. Okay. People lived months of winter with no heating, millions of people. And they deliberately say they're doing this to terrorize people and to change our political opinions. They deliberately, Russia, on every show, on every official channel, on every news channel, they say, we want them to freeze, we want them to suffer. So they demand from their government to stop resisting, to basically just capitulate. It didn't work. We still, the same opinion as we always were, because we know what Russian occupation is. We saw it. Well, you can blame Boris Johnson all you want, but when people saw what they did to the bodies of the people in Bucha, people were like, oh, we don't want that happening to us. It was a very easy choice to see. Even people who were like slightly more sympathetic to Russia, for example, right? They saw what they did. For example, in Izum, it's like 2-hour drive from where I live. I saw bodies with cut off genitals, arms and legs being put out of those graves, civilians that they killed in a mass grave. Okay, the biggest mass grave since whoever knows what. Even Mariupol alone is is how many people from the satellites we can see being just thrown in mass graves, and people never speak of this at all in the Western world. It feels like and no offense to anyone, but like, how can you pretend that you care about human rights, about self-determination, about people's all over the world that stop wars, and you give zero fucks about this? Like, it just tells me all I need to know about you, because if you did care, you would actually have some consistency in that. Yeah, and it's just it's quite difficult to even like listen to this, because the level of passion, as you say here, is appropriate. The level of passion you hear everywhere else is none.
The UNESCO World Heritage List is being used like a target list. I mean, the majority of the corpses I've seen are not soldiers. They're elderly women. That's the majority of the corpses that I've seen, because the majority of the civilians that are being killed on the front line are the elderly that have nothing else and therefore do not want to leave their homes. That's the case in Kherson. That was the case for the failed evacuations that I've been on, which are terrible to witness. And that's the case during the majority of the civilian evacuations where I'm talking to people. To not have a position on the most violent war currently happening on the planet, which is more deadly than any other war, where we have a direct impact on, to not have a public position, especially if you think foreign policy is a strong suit of your campaign, especially if you consider yourself an anti-war candidate, that is a moral failing.
Yeah, and a war in Europe nonetheless. It's not even like the Uyghurs in China, or it's something in Africa, or it's something that we have no attachment to or anything. Like, they should have been the easiest values test, I would say, of all time. But yeah, the United States position right now is incomprehensible.
It's one thing if there's a war somewhere where we should do something because it's our fellow human beings and therefore something should be done. It's another thing when it's a nation state that bounded its security on our promises, giving up its atomic arsenal that we chose to keep.
Yeah, there was a recent poll in Ukraine, very recent, like a couple days ago, I think. Do you trust any security guarantees from United States that Russia will not attack? And I think a good 80% said no shit, no. So this is like how little trust there is right now, and it should be even less, to be for real with you, than it should be 100%. But 80% of the people don't trust any guarantees, specifically because we've already been on that path, and now we are also demonized for that, which annoys me, because we are defending our interests for once. We're not saying, okay, like, all right, do what you want. Yeah, we're not doing that. Zelensky went out there in that cursed Oval Office meeting and he said, no, we need security guarantees. Otherwise, there is no point in any of this, because we want to protect ourselves in the future from yet another invasion, which is what Russians do, which is what they did in Chechnya. Exactly. They, made this agreement that they're no longer going to attack, and then they came in again and they destroyed those people. Like, absolutely destroyed them. And we know this, and we will not be fooled again. And people demonize us as warmongers, as people who want to continue this war, while Russians, Trump said how many times in his messages and in his public speeches that Zelensky is more difficult than Putin. Putin wants peace, and he wants and how it's insane to say that. The country that is, one country is an invader and occupier, and the other country is defending itself, and we are being paraded around as the evil warmongers who don't want to stop the that's just all of it has been horrible. It's been worse than anything I thought it would be. It was worse than
Sorry, go continue. I don't want to step on you.
No, it's I'm about to go in the zone of being very angry. That's your zone.
Okay, I'll be angry. I love to be angry. Where's the progressive response? Like, legitimately, the Trump administration abandons Ukraine, tries to throw Zelensky under the bus in front of the whole world. Where's the progressive response? There should be there are progressives that support Ukraine. I talk to them all the time. There are progressives in PV that support Ukraine. There are progressives in organizations all across the country that support Ukraine. But I've had conversations with Ukrainian candidates. I've had conversations with Ukrainians who have been elected to public office that have told me, progressives in progressive communities, in DSA circles, that tell me they have to turn down their Ukrainianness. They have to turn it down in these conversations, because talking about their real experience and stuff like that, they're going to get raised eyebrows, because these are people who have either been touched by Russophilia to the point that they don't understand that there are other colonial powers outside of the United States, or that they have such Soviet nostalgia for a country they'd never even seen in the first place that they're willing to ignore modern war crimes. Which that's a type of rose-tinted glasses that isn't tinted with roses, that's tinted with blood. You're ignoring what's happening now because of this idyllic dream that isn't even real that you hold in your head. It's extremely annoying. And mind you, these are people running in what party is it? As last time I checked, this is the Democrat Party. This is the party that thinks that Russia's appointed Donald Trump, okay? This is the party that sees that the Russians did try to interfere in our election. This is the party where Americans in the Democratic Party don't agree with the social values that Russia tries to institute there, as both Putin and Donald Trump endorse who? Viktor Orban. They have a political alliance in supporting the same people. Netanyahu supports the same person. All of the worst human beings on the planet coming together for this kind of complete clusterfuck.
Yeah, I agree with you 1,000,000%. Like, I wish that people would just look sometimes to what the way that other people act can signal, who is actually wanting what. Like, people are like, oh, both sides would have been the exact same when it comes to Israel-Palestine. And it's like, who was Netanyahu gunning for to wanting to win the presidency, right? It was obviously Donald Trump, right? And he said as much. And when it came to, Russia-Ukraine and all of the Russian interference or whatever, like, people are always like, oh, Donald Trump would be such a huge adversary to Putin and they'll fear him. And it's like, Putin feared Hillary Clinton. That's who he didn't want to be, in D.C. And I don't know if you're bringing up Orban now just because we're obsessed with every dictator. Did you see was this a truth 30 minutes ago? Did you see this?
No, I didn't see the 30 minutes ago. I know they've endorsed Orban 20 times over.
Yeah, this is just.
Yeah, JD Vance was out there.
It's so cringe. This was literally.
He was like. Sorry, yeah. Uh-huh.
Well, this is 30 minutes ago from Trump. My administration stands ready to use the full economic might of the United States to strengthen Hungary's economy, as we have done for our great allies in the past. If Prime Minister Viktor Orban and the Hungarian people ever need it, we are excited to invest in the future prosperity that will be generated by Orban's continued leadership. President Donald J. Trump is it's the worst constellation of people. Jesus. My God.
That's desperate at this point, I think they know the guy's gonna lose. But it just was so cringe. All Europeans I know talked about this, that they were like, you were interfering, Ukraine was interfering in the elections, they said, which no proof whatsoever, except Orban's word, by the way. And there was like, we are not gonna allow this. And he came once to literally interfere in the election. He came to there in person to say while they will be all, attacked by brown people and migrants, and how the European civilization will die if they don't vote for Orban. And you're like, and also, by the way, why you all need to donate and support Democrats as well, because they're cancerous to everyone. They support every fascist, Russian, corrupt, oligarchical asshole they can find. Like whether it's Moldova, whether it's AFD, fucking Nazis in Germany.
Yeah,
whether
Tommy
it's
Robinson
Orban
and the UK and all the weird white nationalists. Yeah, it's every single
like
bad.
every Le Pen was literally bought by Russia. Is no longer even a conspiracy. It was like proven. It's just every demonic evil shit they can find now.
Bugale
They
or
try
whatever
to
for El
elevate.
Salvador with the CCOT and everything, and yeah, it's just ugh.
And we also trying our best, I guess, over here because so far none of them won, which we call it the curse of Vance now. That he went to the Pope and the Pope died. All that. We were kind of making memes that he should visit more people because maybe that will work some charm over there. But it's just that it's quite they are exerting that influence that they say they are not, other people interfered in the election. They're actively interfering. You have Elon Musk, who was simping on Twitter to millions of people for every far-right government he could possibly find in Europe, saying that it will be the end of the civilization and the end of white toys. I don't know what he was talking about that, that everyone will just collapse if you don't vote for the most egregious pro-Russian, horrendous, corrupt oligarchs you can find. And that's it's not normal in any sense of the world to do that. Was there ever a time, by the way, when vice president from the United States just dropped by to help the local dictator in some small country? Did that happen? Because I don't remember that.
No, our VP behavior, all of our behavior has been insane. I mean, you guys all saw the Munich Vance speech, a year ago, and then just Rubio's speech recently or a month ago. Our interaction with other dictators around the world has just been crazy. The idea that the American president, even, I think this was from Trump's first term, or it might have been a year and a half ago, when Trump is saying things like, I'm jealous of the way Kim Jong-un's military treats them. I wish my military treated me like it's just
yes.
It's just insane.
I mean, he likes his dictators, okay? He wants to be one. That's not difficult to see why.
Yeah,
and,
but the thing that I hate the most about all of these people, and this is always the thing I make fun of fascists for, right? Is that fascists are they're kind of the ultimate losers, because you had people who believed in the racially pure militant societies that were going to conquer the world that die in the first generation. All of them are gone immediately, right? It's the worst project ever. And then meanwhile, you think of who are the most successful, powerful countries on the planet? Well, you've obviously got the U.S. president, but then you've got Russia? Not really. No. You've got Hungary with Orban? No. You've got North Korea? No. You look at the political parties at this point, they're all losers. And there's this weird thing where you have this feeling that I guess all of the left people and all the liberals are all cucked, weak idiots, but the really powerful people are all these right militant authoritarians. But they're not. These are all the biggest losers on the planet. They all suck at everything they do, but somehow they have this reputation of being so good. I don't understand where this comes from. Yeah, it's so stupid.
Yeah, I mean, when you think about what sort of countries dominate the world and what kind of countries you want to be like, you rarely think of Hungary. No offense.
Yeah.
So yeah. I mean, not to throw shade, but they're absolutely as well collapsed. In terms of the economy, their freedom of speech index dropped to fucking shitters with Orban, the press, all of it, and also no offense again, but listening to Vance in Munich being you people, you European fucking Europoors, as they say, have the audacity, to attack freedom of speech, and you're bro, you're lower on the freedom of speech index than any people you speak with here.
This guy's president is suing media outlets for saying things about him that he doesn't like. And the fact too is that Vance's talking points, I don't know how much Western social media guys consume, but these talking points are just because people can't say the N-word on Twitter, which isn't even true because they can now on Twitter. So it's people can't say certain things because they see a story in the United Kingdom about misgendering somebody, and they're living in all of these people are living in 2016 social media time. It's taken over their brains. There was a picture on Twitter. I don't know if you guys saw this, but it was the funniest thing in the world, and it's understanding politics for the last decade is understanding how these two things are directly connected. And on the left is a picture of Zoe Quinn, I think, and on the right is a picture of the Strait of Hormuz. And it's so true. For there's just the dumbest social issues ever lead to the most insane political revolutions in the West right now. And NATO is it. I don't know if you follow Rutte or if you've seen any speeches Rutte's talking like Trump is telling him he's leaving NATO. It's fucking over. And it's what the fuck? Why? It's so stupid.
I mean, he's mad that we didn't support him in his stupid war. I don't know how else to like describe it, but this is as stupid as it gets, really. And yeah, it's just just there was a lot of things like that, to be honest. Like people, like I remember some guy, a friend of mine, showed me a meme where it was like this a person froze to death in their apartment in Kiev, and he was like the reason why it happened, and there was like Anita Sarkeesian. I don't know because
yeah, no, I understand.
Yeah, because the connection of like this woman frozen to death in Kiev because people voted for Trump because like this and that, and it all leads to gamers being mad about not having big booba girls in games. Although you still have those, I don't know. I see them, you know.
Yeah.
Why they don't see them is the question. Yeah, but it's like it's stupid, but it's also like our lives, you know. You know, the person, the woman who was frozen, like it was like elderly lady who was survived like German war. Okay, she was that old, right? And it's just we have like what Dylan brought up about the UNESCO. We're losing our like cultural, cultural monuments, and we are losing our people, our country, our cities are burning down. There are so many people who lost everything, their homes, their jobs, and everything. And it's all funny memes on one end. You have to laugh, otherwise you will be crying. So every time you see someone post things, you just have to like meme about this. But like I told you on stream, but you know, it's the last thing I will say about this, is that when Trump posted this like boom, boom, missile, boom, boom, like, fire, boom, like, and we are sitting in the corridor looking at this. It was posted on like Ukrainian Telegram channels, this speech of his. And everyone is like sitting in the corridor, and we had insane Shahed attack that evening. So like in the background you see the buzzing of death, you know, it's getting closer and it's exploding and everything is like shaking and everyone is in the corridor, like, and in our minds we're like boom, boom, fire, boom, Trump. Like it's just it's like it's insanity is what it is. Okay, so yeah, guys, please donate and please fix this shit. Okay, fix it.
Thank you, 100%. We do have to get to the next segment, so I want to give everybody a chance to give their final thoughts on everything, and then we'll move forward. Okay.
I do just quickly want to say that Trump, as president of the United States, he's seen as a representative of the United States, right? So there were Ukrainians I knew that kind of hoped Trump would win under the idea that, well, maybe he'll actually bring peace in 24 hours, that have seen so much damage. There are people displaced from the Donetsk region. They're just like, I want this to be over. Maybe one day I'll go home. Who knows? And all those people felt burnt, not just by Trump, but burnt by the United States, that they had been promised nirvana, like this miracle cure that was never going to come. And now the United States looks weaker for it. And Trump, when it comes to Orban, he has been coming to CPAC conferences for some time. And so I do want to say, when you look at Orban going out there saying, oh, these candidates withdrew in the middle of the night, even though those opposition candidates didn't withdraw in the middle of the night, and you see all these little election tricks, you watch, Trump might try to repeat some of those same tactics come either 2026 or 2028. It is not beneath him, and we need to be vigilant when it comes to these things. Lastly, I just want to say that American inaction will only make the situation worse. The Russians will hunt people in here so hard, regardless of if we send Ukrainians aid or not, okay? Vladimir Putin's beliefs about Ukraine was not dependent on the United States' existence. Russia had expanded and engaged in colonialism before the United States existed, and if the United States disappeared tomorrow, they would just think, well, won't it be easier to do it tomorrow? So I think that there's many, many, many good reasons to make sure that Republicans feel the pain for becoming such a Russophilic party.
Yeah, I would also say on a self-interested part, although this is pointless to say because the people that need to hear this won't listen. If you are worried about like other nations being a threat to the United States or whatever, like Donald Trump, we're lucky that Russia is as impotent as they are, that Iran is not as powerful as it could be, because oh my God, Trump has managed to botch literally fucking everything. I can't imagine if there were legitimate military threats to the United States, how unfathomably fucked we would be. But like for all the attacking of NATO and calling Europeans freeloaders and all of this, and it's a mean comment, but like the reason why NATO and all this stuff kind of benefited the United States is that like you guys are the front lines. Like, yeah, we've got bases there, and yeah, you know, we do a lot of military defense and everything, but like we don't get invaded. It's like you guys that get invaded first. And the idea that starts to happen, and then the United States is like, oh well, fuck that. Like I don't want to be involved. Like we've run this game so many times, this whole like capitulation game to, you know, conquering powers and everything, and yeah, it never ends well. But I guess we just have to relearn this lesson every couple decades or something. Yeah.
I thought we learned that lesson, to be honest, but apparently not, is the thing, right?
Yeah.
And I don't find any offense, like, with what you just said. We all know we are the meat shield, okay? We are not dumb. We understand we are the meat shield, but, like, at least sponsor your goddamn meat shield.
Yeah.
Like, sponsor it. If you don't want, like, NATO countries and other people being, throwing your own people to fight, like, you have the Poles of, like, in Western Europe that nobody wants to fight if their country is attacked. You have, like, truly the man of the century, like 10% or like something saying they want to fight in the war to defend their own country. And we have like Poles, Ukrainians, Estonians, and Finnish people like, yes, we will fight, you know? So sponsor the people, okay, who are your meat shield. And don't throw us at the bus every fucking time. Like in every war, it's just, I don't know. Like, I think we all need to understand that this time in history is extremely perilous, and it will like lead to all sorts of more horrible things down the line. And all the people who were like so afraid of World War III are the people who should be sponsoring us the most. Are the people who should be saying, yeah, these guys, they're like our, you know, they are defenders essentially, right? They're stopping the hordes, quote unquote, and we don't see any of that. So yeah, it's just overall, I think we just need some people who are reasonable, who are sensible, back at the wheel in the United States, so the whole world can kind of, I don't know. Although I will be honest, I don't think people will be forgetting this, and neither should they.
Yeah.
Like I don't think you can trust someone to be the leader of the world who is so bipolar and unhinged.
Yeah, true.
And I don't know how that reputation can be saved. But the very least you can do is try to, you know, show the world that the people are not entirely nuts. Although voting 2 times for this guy probably, you know,
Hurts.
puts you a little bit in the nuts category in the minds of most people. But you can fix it still. I believe in you, and please do, please do it for the rest of the world.
One last thing I wanted to say before we get the boot is Democrats, if they take back the House, they have real influence. Republicans held aid hostage over immigration. There is no reason why, if Democrats take back the House, we cannot hold a Republican or Trump priority hostage over the issue of getting aid to Ukraine after clearly demonstrating just through his own failures that the 24-hour peace deal is not coming, and it's clear as day it's not coming. And so this shouldn't just be a question for people in the primary, but in the general. And when we take back the House, which we will do, over $100,000 gathered, I don't know where the clock is now, we need to have a plan to act and not a plan to send flowers.
Yes.
Agreed.
We're at $130,000 roughly. Sorry, go ahead.
Hell yeah! We've been told. I've been told by the guys in the green room thingy, or like waiting room thingy, that you earned more than Progressive Victory. So that's the only thing I care
Yes, we
about.
have lapped them by almost
Yeah,
100,000
yeah.
right now, actually.
Yes, I'm so happy about this. Yeah, mug them.
Let's do a joint
As-
event.
as
Let's all
kids
come
say.
together, and let's all come together, get a joint event, and I'll marry you all. We'll all get together, kiss, and play a big drum. Come on,
yeah.
let's win. Let's win.
Yes.
That's what
We
politics is
tweeted
about.
nicely at Progressive
Winning.
Victory yesterday, and I had a hate
Good
thread
job.
on Reddit in like 2 minutes.
Yeah.
Okay, so we'll see about that. We're not going to support any candidates who
Yeah.
don't support Ukraine.
I'm gonna be
but
honest.
If we can't do it, we'll.
Listen, I want to work with everybody, of course, but man, dude, I think I stayed up like 3 or 4 hours getting triggered as fuck by that fucking by that Mehdi Hassan tweet. That kind of sent me. Like,
I saw
dude,
it.
I would if I was Zelensky, I would have killed myself so long ago. Like, imagine going to the White House and fucking fat boy couch fucker Vance is like roasting you or not apologizing, and then you're tweeting like the most like innocuous shit in the world. Like, hey, shouldn't the UN Security Council be doing something to like make sure like straits and stuff aren't closed, so that we're not like all getting fucked on energy prices? And then like out from the shadows, it's like, don't you know that Iran and
Mehdi
Ukraine are
Hassan.
both victims? Are you crazy? So it's like, Jesus Christ, man, like, what the fuck? Calm the fuck down. Like, how? And also,
Yeah.
do you understand the well, you understand, you guys understand the ungodly levels of like adherence to strict rule of law and worldly order for a single Ukrainian to have fucking sympathy for Iran? Like, I'm sorry, like, Jesus fucking Christ, come on, guys, it's unreal. Yeah.
We gotta be angels, I guess. we gotta.
Mind
be
you, the air
perfect-
defense is for Gulf states. It's not like they're bombing Iran. And the
Yes.
comments about like the Strait of Hormuz.
The hell?
Look, all these people need to have conversations with Ukrainians. Iran sponsored over 500,000 kamikaze attacks against Ukrainians that have killed men, women, and children. Ukraine defending Gulf states from kamikaze attacks, doing the same thing, not as effectively as the Russians, mind you. I mean, it didn't deserve that response. It didn't.
Nope.
Yeah. Well, he lost what he said. He said we lost all credibility or some shit. Like, you know, we're so horrified by this horrible judgment from Mehdi Hassan, okay? That we
Yeah.
lost all credibility because we are not very hyped on the regime that sponsors daily terror of our people. I guess, you know, my bad. Like, I haven't slept for years because of this fucking Shahed thing. Like,
Mind
I
you,
love.
these
Yeah.
Sorry to
Anyway.
interrupt you.
Yeah.
I got the power in me. Mind you, these Gulf states have capital. If the United States isn't going to invest in the Ukrainian drone industry, how are they going to defend themselves? They're in a war of survival, and people treat it like it's, I don't know, they're playing fucking patty cake.
Yeah. Yeah.
Yep.
All right.
Well,
Sorry, I think
okay.
I keep going over time. Sorry.
Yeah.
Yeah, go for it. What's the
That's
next?
all good.
Yeah.
That's all good. I just
We
gotta get
gotta
to the
go.
next summit. This shit's great, man. Awesome. Thank you guys so much for stopping by.
Thank you for having us.
Yeah.
Bye bye. Good luck.
Thanks
Of course,
a lot, guys.
Remember to
anytime.
donate.
Yeah, donate, guys. Thank you.
Thank you.
We're
then
putting
I think
ourselves
we're
out.
going
Yeah. Yeah.
Oh, there we go.